last 2 hours of this trading day. Again, Justin will be joining us. We'll be doing a poll about NASDAQ and many more. Volume hopefully will come in and bring us more trading opportunities. Thank you so much for spending this 3 hours with us, for 1K likes, for all the super chats and support. We love you, team.
All right, same place, same time. You know what to do. Take care of yourselves until 4 o'clock and come back at 8:30, but stay till 11 and stay till 4. Paka paka.
Paka paka.
All right, thanks, guys. 2 hours to go in the trading session. Tuesday has been, pretty negative. Unfortunately, right across the board, we're looking at red numbers as we head towards the close here. It is the NASDAQ leading the way. 2% to the downside right now, 1.5% basically for both the Dow and the S&P, 1.66 right now for the S&P, 1.36 for the TSX here in Toronto. We did get a nice bounce from energy stocks here for the TSX early on, but you can see this was about 2% for crude oil at one point. So oil coming off, that means energy stocks fading a little bit here into the afternoon, both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Still to the downside as well. It has been one of those days, unfortunately. It's all about interest rates and higher yields, the 10-year highest since January 2020. This morning, 1.83%, sending all of the tech sector basically to the downside. CTXS standing out here 5% higher. There was some possible buyout rumors floating around in the pre-market for them. Everything else, though, solidly lower. Semiconductor, software makers, hardware equipment makers, even the banks led by Goldman, now 7%. It was almost 9% at one point. We're going to talk about Goldman, their earnings coming up here. We'll get these guys, MS, down here tomorrow. Before the open, 4.6% for Morgan Stanley. Look at Moderna, 8.25% to the downside for Moderna today. The entire healthcare group, the entire consumer discretionary group, including all the retailers, hit hard today. Gap down 6%. Home builders under pressure as well. ATVI, we all heard the news. We'll talk about that. Our friend Justin coming up, he's going to have some thoughts on what this means for ATVI, their properties. Going over to the Microsoft family. EA there, 4.5%. Take-Two getting a nice bounce as well. Meta there, 3.3%. There was a headline on Meta. Quick look at the NASDAQ. It's all about ATVI. Pinduoduo standing out there a little bit strong as well. Everything else, though, very red. One of those days, unfortunately, as we said, going into the weekend, some negativity surrounding what the Fed will do. We'll get more indication on that coming up next week. 25th and 26th will be their next Fed minute, or what am I trying to say? Interest rate decision and Fed meeting next week. We'll talk about that more as well. Let's get into what was moving around in the pre-market this morning and how we went about actually trading it, because part of the job as a trader is going back and seeing how you did. And today it was a little bit tricky, but Sean's going to lead the way here and talk a little bit about one of his trades from this morning.
Thank you, Brendan. Yeah, look, an awesome thing about trading is you can do exactly what Brendan said. Look back, have a look at your trade of the day, have a look at a few ideas and say, hey, were we right? Were we wrong? What happened here, right? So what I'm looking at here is Digital World Acquisition. Now we know on February 21st, the Truth Social will be coming out, right? And so that's going to be obviously a big event here where it's I don't know what Donald Trump's exact, doing is going to be with this, but it's coming out. There's a lot of press. It's going to be pretty hype is what traders think. And you can see what's been happening lately with the Truth straight to the upside here as DWAC just continues to make a move. And then we knew that it was moving in the morning, but we couldn't really find our way in. So we look back here. This is just a 20-minute chart, not a daily. It really just matters what's been happening recently. So, we find this 74 level, but then we go back and we look here and we actually miss it. It's just off the open here. You had a 72 bid or so that was creating this sort of, in line here between 72 and 73, kind of just barcoding, and then all of a sudden, bang, it pops up, and it's pretty choppy in here. This is what kind of makes us nervous. So that 74 line just comes right in here. I think that was probably the best take because then you would have never really gone against you. Unfortunately, we punched high 75. Now, this is the thing. We take it real early, and we said even on the show, we want to hold this, but because it was early, and I think we had 6 or 7 positions, that doesn't matter. We're talking about this trade. It was just too choppy here. And the problem is I had a 72 bottom. So I'm thinking to myself, do I really want this to happen where it wicks all the way down and we get close to that? It gets to like 72.50 or so there, maybe 72 there. And we're like, you know what? We're getting very close to getting knocked out. So let's just take some out here at 74.50. So we wind up losing about 50 to 60 cents on the first third or half or whatever it was there. And we take it out. Just too risky as it's bouncing around. You know, it just opened up. We don't know where this stock is going to go. So we change our strategies a little bit. And then we start to say, hey, you know what? We're going to try to scalp this thing. I don't think it's going to go to $175 today and not give us opportunity to get in. You could see the volume remain pretty consistent. So there's it is. So we take a 50 or 60 cent hit. Then look what happens. Bang all the way to the upside. And we actually missed this. We were so happy that we were still holding on. We had a $10 winner here, or $9.50. Risk, 60 cents. Rips up, $9 in the money. Instead, we let it bounce around, bounce around, bounce around. Eventually, it comes down, and we're nervous about it taking out VWAP, so we get out of 79. So the first set here, $4 worth of victory, plus or minus the 60 cents. So we're taking about 350. Then the same thing happens again, right? We're waiting for another level to break. And because we got out there, I told myself, I don't want to miss the move back to 84. So I'm going to take the long through 80. And that's exactly what happens again. There's the long through 80, dips down, and then there's the out, close to 82. So there we go, another $2. So we put in our pocket $455 so far. It comes back in, and then we do what we always do. We reloaded right in front of this VWAP one more time, 79.50. Then bang, just 10, 15 minutes later, we get out again at 82. So that's like an 81.75. That's an 82 clean. And guess what, guys? We're still long. So that's the whole point, is we take some out, and right now we're right back to the day's high, and we're still long. So although right here, imagine if we still would have held this, there it goes, yes sir. If we would have just held this long, we would now be in the money, $9. But we've made here, so this trade here, 450. They make another $1.50 there, 6. Then we make another, that's 79.50 up to 82. There's your $9 right there. And we still have a piece on. So 9 plus whatever we're going to make here, another 5. So there it is. Sometimes it's better to get in and out, especially when you find some key levels. It's DWAC. We're going to see where we are. I got to go back to my desk right now. We're long 79.50 right here as it touches the top of the day. That's how I traded DWAC.
Volume coming into not only DWAC, but a lot of these associated names as well, including CFVI was moving around a little bit today on its own news, in fact. And we'll talk about PHUN as well, because it did also catch a bid. But DWAC also obviously leading the way. But that's the watch list, guys, as we say every single day. Absolutely free. 8:30. Come join us in the morning. We talk about everything you need to know in the pre-market and get you set and ready to get going as we jump into the last 2 hours of the day here. DWAC leading the way. It was all about Activision Blizzard and Microsoft in the pre-market this morning, making headlines with a monster deal, $95 in cash if you missed it for ATVI. Out of seemingly nowhere, there was no rumors floating around of this that I heard anyways, or saw anywheres, as far as Microsoft even being somewhat interested in Activision Blizzard, guys, but ends up getting faded here for ATVI.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this Activision is, I mean, obviously there's been a change in tone in terms of regulating deals. Whoops, are we coming to me? We're good? Yeah, regulating deals, and would have thought there's a chance that, of course, that there could be antitrust issues with ATVI, but it's definitely falling even more than I would have anticipated here. Down a 95 cash deal. It's double bottomed at 81, and this is the 81.5, and this is the first time that it's actually shown any semblance of a low with any support. So with any buyout, you of course have regulatory risk. The shareholder vote, of course, comes into play. These are not guarantees that they will go through and the deal will happen. You have the time value of money, how many quarters is it going to take for this to finally clear. You have the fact that it's big tech buying it. I wouldn't have thought it's a huge deal in the gaming space, but it's still Microsoft, and I mean, the FANG names have been, the big tech names have been under the crosshairs when it comes to regulating deals. So this is a large deal, I think $60-something billion. And maybe that's the reason why it's getting faded. It's come a little farther than I would have anticipated, but you don't necessarily have to worry about watching Microsoft stock when trading it. And for now, 81.50 has been a bit of a bottom here, double bottoming. Could be scalpable because it's going to do 100 million in volume, but I'd love to see this thing settle down and start to dig into why it seemed like the market. Forget about forget about what you think. The market's pricing that there's some serious deal risk here on ATVI, because obviously, if there was a high probability that this deal was going to go through, I mean, at this particular point, like you're now talking about like a very, very solid 16 or 17% premium from where the cash deal is. Even if it took a year for the deal to close, obviously that's a pretty sweet deal.
Okay, so yeah, I'm super. I mean, look at DWAC right now, 84.75 and still going to the upside as I join a drop right now, NFT style here, going from Top Shots. Ooh, I'm 44,000th in line. We'll see if that gets filled. But what we're really, really excited about, spin the money around again. How about AMC, guys? AMC going to be, well, DWAC's going to be my #1 stock, but AMC, look at this, short, reverse into the long, and bang, bang, bang. So right now we're back into another 35-cent win here for AMC as it's continuing to go to the top. We're long at 18.13 right now. So today, for me, on AMC, what a monster day. We're starting the show. I'm at my absolute highest spot we've been at all day. Look at this. We have 46 cents in the money right now on BBIG as we hold. Let's see if BBIG wants to make moves to the upside. And then there goes DWAC again, 85 bucks. We're holding this one forever now. This will be in here until we close. So whatever happens with DWAC in the next 2 hours, your boy, the People's Trader, will be long this name here for the rest of the day. So
if it holds down, you're going to hold it?
Yep, no way I'm getting out of DWAC. So we'll be in DWAC all day long. I mean, it's my #1 stock. We're cruising with it. I mean, right now it looks like AMC is going to be with this here for the long side, but we'll see. And then BBIG, whatever. I'm in all these huge winners right now. Microsoft's been a monster today. Only one negative name, Lucid and Baba today. 2 negative names on the board. So we'll wait to see where we go, but we're rocking and rolling here. AMC long, DWAC long, and BBIG long.
Yeah, big move for DWAC, day highs. Let's go to DAT quickly. Another one making new highs at the moment as well, on decent volume as well. If you missed it this morning, they initiated a Web3 platform focused on NFTs and encrypted messaging. So DATs, this one as well, guys, only 14 million on the float for DAT Chat. So one that can get going if it wants to, having quite the day here.
It is. I mean, DATS is gone, but it's not nearly been, I guess the runner that Vinco Ventures has recently been, and I guess you'll see DWAC. I just missed. He just did a fail break DWAC there at 85. Probably had a chance at a bit of a scalp trade, but I did miss an entry at 95. But I'm looking at these levels. If my 15 wants to go back far enough on DATS, it doesn't seem like it wants to. Here's 312. This is over at 320. I guess I can pull the daily chart and just zoom in for you guys quickly, just so you can see like how much this has been, trying every single time it's tried to get up and sort of get back to like this 450-ish area here. You've seen it being constantly faded. So, until it breaks out and breaks one of these highs, I'm talking about that 312, that 325. This is a bit of a nothing burger. It does feel like it's more resistance than anything up at these levels. 25% is nothing to sniff at. But if you do look, it's had a couple of volume spikes here, trying to churn through, and the follow-through's been muted. It just got through 3. It's trying to sustain a bid, but I can tell you there's not a heck of a lot on the bid right now, just a couple of thousand shares between $3 and the current 303 price. So while it's had some volume going into this range, it's got resistance at 10 and then 25 and not as much follow through. Like if you pull up a level 2 or a time and sales of Vinco or in DWAC, and there's just a heck of a lot more interest in both those names than DATS, which has these little spurts. It just, right now it looks like it's running out of steam. I don't like the long up here. If you're going to try something, it has to be off of this, like 85. Find support, get a better price, and at least you know where your out's going to be.
Yeah, for me, that's, nothing. I'm not even, I'll be here to run through all this stuff, but really, I'm just watching this AMC trade right now. It just came back down. We got a little bit more out there at 43 as it came back in. So right now we're just running this trade to the upside here, AMC, and then for me, DATS, those Zach Morris pumps and things like that is a hard pass. Although today we're doing great on BBIG and then on DWAC, and those are like the only 2 names that I'm trading that do have that sort of social media bump around it. Obviously, you could talk about Lucid as well. That's a name that we were long early on and hasn't really done. I didn't even remember this trade. Like this happened literally in the first minute. It just came down through 40, and then got us out through 39.79, and then that turns, or whatever it was, 79. That turns out to be basically the bottom here as we're trying to, base something out. So if Lucid can come back here to 39.72, as I look, we're going to talk about, okay, so Goldman Sachs. Let's just go back to Brendan. We'll talk about some of these banks.
Yeah, with earnings continuing today in the pre-market, guys, if you missed it, huge flush for Goldman. Been a long time since GS has had a day like this. 366 at the open. It gets all the way down to 346, goes through all kinds of important levels, even if you zoom out on the daily chart, into multi-month lows here for Goldman. It was the trading side of things that came up a little bit short. However, decent buy volume coming in here ahead of 350, guys.
Yeah, look, I think I tried saying this at the beginning of Trader Pratt's show, and then it's a little bit of audio issues. And I think when you talk about the financials here, it's the traditional boring is going to perform a little bit better than the ones relying on the trading, investment banking, deal making side. And that's certainly been borne out here. That's going to apply to JPM, Morgan, and Goldman. But there is a bit of a level if you go. It's hard to see on this daily chart, but if you were to go back, you just go back to the middle of the summer. When these have started bouncing around, they haven't really broken out of the range. It's a good return they've had, but 350, that's your level on the daily. You'd see the same thing if you pulled up a Morgan Stanley. They're going to be reporting. You see the same thing on their level. So they are bouncing back on those like midsummer gains, and that just goes to show you like none of these have broken out of the range. They've been relatively conservative. They made the top, and now we're coming right back in. And then like we said with JP, sometimes you've got to be willing, and I wasn't this morning, despite. This and Silvergate kind of kicked my butt, but I sort of look at this and say, with JP, you didn't want to get away from shorting something that was too low, especially if you got a risk reward and a consolidation. So if I see the same thing with Morgan and it's not too close to that support from June, I might try it tomorrow. But these feel like they've come and gone. Like Silvergate's going to be like. That one's going to kick my butt because I didn't think there'd be enough volume for it to fall, and then of course 20% later, whether it's fintech or whether it's the banks themselves, what goes up must come down, and that's been the case.
Yeah, and look, I tried to tell everybody last week about these banks, and basically if you sat in all of them and weren't an active trader all year, then you've just lost back to March. So you've just lost 10 months of earnings on Goldman Sachs, right, if you didn't take anything out. It does give you a whopping 2% dividend. So I say that jokingly, obviously. And it's the same thing for all these banks. If you didn't take anything out on the way up, then you've basically enjoyed absolutely nothing of this ride. And sometimes, oh, by the way, I'm still going to go talk about it, but look at DWAC right now. $86 still on DWAC. $8 winner today, man, on that name. And we just talked about it as your trade of the day. But even the same thing, a name that I like that I want to get into is Morgan Stanley. But then I feel like the same thing. Like if you haven't been trading in and out of this thing, you're down to $93, which this goes back a little bit better, back to June. But still, you've given up all 7 months up here and really not collected a dividend. Like it's very, very small amount. So the banks have given absolutely everything back. It's so super disappointing. Hey, but for a trader like me, it's a good thing because I can then get in now into a spot that I'm, way underweight in, which we talked about with the banks. So, I feel bad for everyone that's sort of been sitting here holding the banks. Just like all of these stocks, they've all come back in besides oil and energy. So, if you like this, you're at the 200 period now for Morgan. The same thing. Look, I hold JP Morgan. Like I said, I don't have too many shares. And when I've been selling like up high, 56s, 57s, we felt like crap when it was up to 170. But the same story is true. If you take JP Morgan all the way back, March, February, some of these levels here. I like JP Morgan's chart better. So I think maybe I'll dip into some more right now if you are underweighted. But if you want to, you can also take the XLF if you don't want to be too fancy like with all this. But, I like all these plays here. They come back in, and for a trader like me that doesn't really want to actively manage a position in a bank, I think this is like a blessing because now everyone that's been holding a bank, unless you traded out of it, man, you're right back. Like I said, you've lost 8 months worth of earnings. And the same thing is true on all these names. It's just, I didn't think banks would fall this hard, this fast. So let's wait.
You got to qualify that because make sure you're talking about the big US banks.
Yeah, that's all I'm talking about. So these huge banks, guys, that we're talking about in the United States, same thing here. It's just like, you got to get back in at some point. And I just think after Morgan, we'll see the blood tomorrow. We'll see if there is any. DWAC right now, by the way, guys, $9 in the money. So that's still going. It's good for, well, now back to $8. We just took out $89 here on DWAC, and we are long right here, 79. So we have $8 in the money right now on DWAC. I said I wouldn't get it out, so I'm going to try to stick with that. We'll see how high this thing goes now. $88 on DWAC and still climbing here, Brendo.
All right. Another note here, guys, worth noting on Goldman quickly. GM teaming up with one of their divisions for a new digital-friendly credit card. So I just checked out GM. Not much of a bump on that, but that was about a half an hour ago or so. Let's talk about Digital World Acquisition Corporation, because yeah, 3-month highs for this thing. No significant headline today, but as we said, kind of going into the end of last week and into the weekend, it seems like, you know, volume was ramping up. If you go back to last week, you can see it's tough to see down there, but volume kind of growing day by day. And here we are, 3-month highs through 80 on the way up to, I mean, that might be the next stop. 95 up here is the next kind of pivot technically.
I see 96. I mean, I could be wrong. I see 96 is the. There was the day after the flush. If you talk about like when it got to $175 for those that were trading it that day, if you looked at the day after, like 95 was sort of, you know, that sort of key price. It was crazy in the pre-market, and then you got into 95, and then it tried to recover that same price the next day. So that's obviously kind of the next thing you're going to be looking at. Whether, I mean, that or $90 obviously is an even level. CFVI is also moving, but someone just asked about CFVI. It's a $13 stock with like 5 to 10 cent spreads. Like the volume's nowhere near as good. Like right now, DWAC is an $87 stock with a 10-cent spread. So it's not that it's you can't trade CFVI, but as an active trader, if I'm looking to something, it's like liquidity in a weird way is better on DWAC. And I think there's definitely opportunities there. I had 2 shorts on it, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 basically flat. And I'm looking for $90. I'm looking to fade it. If I was long it, I'd already be getting some out in front of 90 after that 85 break, as it looks like it's forming a little bit of a pattern here. And if you look at it, like extend, flag, break, pull back, flag. So $90 would make some logical sense, but really on the chart, 95 is that big key level. If you look at it from the last time when it did the halt fest and came back in, 95 was the bigger level than 90.
All right. I'll put my offer at $94.50. So let's see if we can get a $15 winner plus change on this name. Look, we just did the review, so if you want to, you can rewind it to about like 202, see the trade of the day. We've been absolutely destroying this name. Took out profit. Luckily enough, we didn't take profit at the high of the day. We didn't want to do that, and now we're going to try to make new highs of $88. So, hey, if $94.50 is an area of some sort of resistance, then I'm going to take that level. So we'll sit there, and if it continues to rip up through 100 and 100, whatever it is, then so be it. But we'll take that out. Hopefully we get it, man. If it rips up to $94, we'll take it. But right now, DWAC is at the high of the day. So, yeah, there it is. Oh, we can do 2 animations there. As we beat up that, and we rang in the money. 88, 88.20. See ya. I almost had an offer right here at 88. Just thinking like, you know what? Why not take the $8 and then just move on from it? True, but at the same time, if we have a stock that we like, I mean, if I kept taking it out on the way up, I wouldn't be in, right? So we'll see here. I don't know if the 90 break is going to be good, so we'll wait to see what happens when it gets to 90. But for right now, guys, yes, Miss V is in the building, and we're acting like Superman over here as we have this DWAC trade, $10, almost $10 in the money to go with our other 2. So we're pretty happy right now.
Let's talk tech here quickly. I wanted to touch on Apple and Microsoft. We were dealing with Microsoft in the pre-market this morning, heading into the open, obviously because of the Activision news. But both Microsoft and Apple holding up a little bit better than many people thought they might today. I mean, Apple back to 170 once again, but kind of rolling over even as we speak. But overall, I mean, it could be a lot worse, guys. Everyone has talked about the in depth the tech and growth stocks leading this current sell-off and current move back to the downside for the market. But I mean, 1.7 could be worse.
Look, it's slightly better than what the overall market is doing. Microsoft's it's like Microsoft, of course, it's still one of the big tech companies. So like but still, yeah, it's huge deal news and deal that happened today, and that kind of skews all the trading in Microsoft at least a little bit today because it's had some whipsaw action. Usually, you think it might go down off of that news, but Apple, I can't say it looks that great. And obviously, it's going to follow the market, and it's going to be a market leader. But big tech, it's still trying to hold out this 168. Like, that's going to be that key decision point. Like, if Apple breaks 168 and has a close below support that you had in December in the 50 period, both coinciding at the exact same price area at this point, that could signal another rollover in tech. Now, personally, I think the approach to go, if you're day trading these, like, people can talk about trading the NASDAQ or whatnot. I just say you pick something that you think is overvalued or that has a high valuation, and then those are the types of things that you want to go short in. Like, it's a little bit easier to get bigger moves because realistically they're just under a tremendous amount more pressure. Now, I say that having not got back into a firm, but this is the well that I kind of keep going back into, and this is the one I'd rather be trading. I just feel a lot safer that it'll have less of a bid when it starts to go down, especially when the market's breaking lows. Because you have to ask yourself this question, right? Are people at the beginning of the year looking to buy dips on Apple, Microsoft, or a firm, Peloton? Or just you pick anything you want to. And I think that's an easy answer. So there's definitely less resistance or support, I guess would be the thing, on the way down on some of these, like, high valuation type names, although we're getting to a big level on Apple. If it gets to that 168, I mean, clearly that's gigantic. It just till it gets to that point, it hasn't cracked yet. Whereas you have names that are literally cracking every single day. They're cracking and giving 5% drops, every other day, I should say. So those are the vehicles I think to go into. Microsoft, obviously, with the deal today. I initially came in and had a short when I saw the deal news, and then that immediately got stopped out. It tried to trade higher. So I think for now, it's a bit of a decent sign for them that they seem to like that spending, although it's a lot of cash to fork out for Microsoft.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. DWAC just touched $89 there. Yeah, so we went back and forth with Softy again. I do like the long if we can get above this 304.50 area here, but just back and forth. We had some longs down here, in and out, and then in and out at the top on a VWAP break that didn't really do anything at 306. So yeah, I mean, right now we'll just sit here, watch this name, and see where it goes. So that's basically it. And I do, again, if we could break above this, there's just a lot of garbage been happening. This is since 1:30. So about an hour in, we make this move down to 303, and now we're kind of just hovering around here. I love the 302 bid. I love it down near 300. But again, as this market is keeps on just chewing lower, man. 2.23 now, almost at day's low. So yeah, yuck. NASDAQ keeps getting hit, and I don't think there's too much value in some of these names right now. But obviously, like Neil was mentioning there, I'd love to pick something up on Softy. I mean, even right now, I have some cash to spare. I don't know where to go. I was thinking, like I just mentioned there, I was thinking about some banks. Would rather see what happens tomorrow. But here we go, 304.60 or so. If Microsoft breaks, I like the long there today. Just got to get through this 304.60. And it is going to be, it's trading a little differently because of the news, but you're still down 2%, which is what the market's down. So I feel like Microsoft is now sort of, figured this stuff out. They've released the news about ATVI. We'll see if there's going to be competition. And I mean, I don't think antitrust should be stepping in here, but we'll see what happens with the Microsoft ATVI deal. I don't think it matters that much, although right now in this environment, having cash is pretty important, and they just shelled out $67 billion. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but I still like Microsoft, especially today if we get above 304.50.
All right, let's go to Lucid here, down 5% still, coming back to day lows even as we speak. One of the biggest lockups coming tomorrow, obviously. A big chunk of shares going to become available. If we recall, going back to, I looked it up, it was September 1st. We had that pipe expiration where we had the big move down. It was about 10 or 11%, if I remember correctly. So even more, about 3 times as much, in fact, coming available tomorrow. We'll see what happens, obviously, for Lucid here, guys. But yeah, tough day for them, too.
It's weird because it's down 5%, but it's like it wasn't the most tradable short. I mean, you might have had it if you had just said blank at the pre-market high, and we're just sitting it in the pre-market. Definitely would have been nice. I was looking at resistance levels at where there was previous support, just slightly above this range, so never got in. It then broke the low from Friday and then snapped right back, retested, and it's been sitting inside of the range. So I guess what we're looking at here is you have a week's worth of a floor at 39.5-ish. that's going to get tested, and you definitely have some upside resistance at 42.5, and it almost feels like a trap going into tomorrow. Now, if we get any kind of a bounce here today, you sort of saw what just, if you look at your minute chart, like just grinding, and then the second it curled, capitulation, and then grinding, then capitulation. So there's still some there's a skittish bid, I think is the best way to think about it, because even when this starts to get going, it just has bottoms that drop out. Like if you look at the movement downside, it just accelerates a little bit faster. So I think that theme is playing out. It's just structuring a trade off of anything but that pre-market high hasn't really worked too well. And even then, you had to extend past it. Like I was sitting on the offer up in the 30s when it came up a couple of times to these prices. I'm not going long in Lucid going into it today. I'm looking to fade off the top. I'm sitting on the bid for a dip buy in Vinco. That's the only thing I want to. That's sort of in a range that I want to buy, and that's off of that 465 top. But I wouldn't be touching Lucid, at least not for me. Under the circumstances, off what looks like that 39.75 support. If it shoots up, I'll short it at 41. I think that's probably a little bit safer. And then tomorrow morning, you want to come in, even if I think it's going to be going to the downside, I want to make sure I've established where my outs are going to be, so that the 41.5, that 42.5, even 43.5, those are pretty good levels on Lucid to be able to play with tomorrow.
Okay, so we only hit Rivian, and we did actually really well on it. Just as we went off air, it broke that 75 level, so that was about 11.10. And then exactly what we thought would happen. It ripped all the way back up. It didn't give us any trades at all, which is completely fine. This is like, and sometimes you got to use take advantage of what we've seen in the past, right? And I think it was right on Prad's show when we talked about it, that it's going to break 75 and then make a move back up. So I was sitting there ready to reload, and that's exactly what we did. So we actually wound up getting like an average price of about 75.50 or so. Then when it came back down, look at our best out, 74.50. So we're able to make about $1 or so on Rivian, and that's again one of my better stocks today. Even though we only have one trade in it, it's the 75 break, which was pretty key. Rips all the way back up, and then again, you're not going to get out of Rivian for like a 20 or 30 cent hit, right? I mean, this thing has a 5-cent spread, so one little tick against you, you're losing 25, 30 cents, right? So we had to let this thing sort of get absorbed into our blotter. It does that, comes to the upside, we reloaded it, and then we got it out down there, which turns out to be absolutely perfect, although, holding it would have been better. And then the reload up here at 76 was pretty sweet there. So, okay, so now we're into Microsoft. As Microsoft takes out those highs that we were looking at, it just breaks through this bubble. So let's see now what happens to Microsoft, as we are long Microsoft, long DWAC, long BBIG, and we just got a nice, yes sir, a nice trade there as AMC comes all the way back. So we let it go all the way back in, have it come all the way back. That's another 50-cent winner there for AMC. So yeah, happy to go here. Let's watch out for Microsoft as it just rips to 78. Okay, so not huge there. We're long 62. Let's see if we get some out around 305 or so, guys.
Let's talk bear market opportunities today. As traders, we always want to be prepared. Yes, only the NASDAQ composite is officially, if you want to talk about it, in a bear market state, but others still on the way down, guys. So let's talk a little bit about how we can profit when markets are going down and not to the upside, regardless of your time frame here. If you're, an intraday trader, there's lots of volatility and lots of opportunity, but on a longer term basis, some ideas as well.
Yeah, I think from the most simplistic thing to be able to say is, okay, well, if you're a day trader or a short-term trader, get some short ideas. Like setups that work to the long side can also be applied to shorts, whether it's, pre-market breakouts, if it's dip and rip for longs, then it's short, then it's, short the pop at the open and fade it off pre-market highs. That's the easy thing you can do. But not everybody is in that short time frame. Sometimes you're thinking a little bit longer swings or maybe just hiding out a little bit. So make that distinction. First, distinguish what it is that you're doing. And then if you're trading within a sector, let's say you have money in a particular sector, you've been making money going long, buying dips and things like AMC and NVIDIA, understand the defensive names within that sector. So you go to something like an Intel, which in this environment is going to be a good place to hide money when you're trying to sort. Let's say you're trading heavily in the chip space. Well, something like this, which is more of a dividend stock, it's got a lower PE just in that low single digits, so reasonably priced. It's not going to fall. Today, you have NVIDIA down over 3%. You have, as we're doing this, and AMD down close to 3%. Well, Intel down 1%, and that's going to be sort of par for the course, and it plays both ways. when we're in the monster bear market, Intel's not going to appreciate as much. But you do get the dividend with it, so it gives you a place to hide cash while you're maneuvering, especially within a space. So you have that understanding of what the different types of names are in an individual sector. And the other side of it, of course, becomes, well, when you are trading a little bit more actively, like what is it that you can do when we're in some downward markets, John?
Yeah, no, there's good look there. I mean, you always want to be diversified and have some kind of a dividend-paying stock in there, right? And so pick one that's in a good sector like that Intel, so that when it does, come back through, that's something that you can hit. Look, and in today's world, we have ETFs, right? And we have inverted ETFs. Neil mentioned those briefly, and I'll just talk about the SQQ here. This is actually 3 times the move on the NASDAQ. So let's just talk about this quickly, because some people don't, they try to understand it. It's a little bit complicated. They use options and things like that. Look at the NASDAQ down 2%, SQ up 6, right? So you are going to get that inverted relationship. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with hedging a little bit. If we go over to the daily chart here for the SQQ, which is right here, you're going to see they had a reverse split. So forget about all these crazy moves that's recently just happened. Actually, I don't even know. They must have just done it, because we don't get that in here. It's up to 33. We just did a reverse split, so this is going to be hard to see. Let me pull up e-signal here quickly so I can talk about that a little bit. Oh, yeah, there it is. So the NASDAQ was huge coming back in. Let me just zoom this in one more time just to have a quick look. Even in the last little bit, Brendan, is what we're trying to get at here, is the last little couple days here. We were down to 36, 37, some of these bottoms on SQQ. And then just in a couple days, this is from September, so $35. If you really thought the writing was on the wall here and say, you know what, we're probably going to start heading up, interest rates, so on and so forth. And I think it was, around U.S. Thanksgiving that sort of hawkish talk started to happen. Well, you could have been long about $30 on the SQQ. Today, you're up to $35, $36, right? So there's your sort of 20% bump in an inverted ETF. So that's something you could do, but be very, very careful, because the thing about an SQQ is, forget about that move there. It just did reverse split. So it was actually a little bit of a bad example for this on our charting, but it's 3 times. So what I'm giving you guys right now is 3 times the leverage. So you don't want to be overexposed to something like this in case you don't get the timing right. Because if today's the bottom in the NASDAQ, then yeah, this is going to be ripping 3% tomorrow, or whatever it is. The NASDAQ rips 3, this thing's going to be down 9. So you got to watch out, be very, very careful. But SQQ, and there's a few other ones. I'm just focusing on NASDAQ here, as it's the one going down. You could also look at the VIX, which might be better for another evergreen video.
Just to break that down, guys, quickly into a more sector-specific type of idea. We've talked about the enormous strength in banks going into this last earnings reporting season that hasn't been great so far, let's be honest. And I want to talk about oil as well. So here's one, again, on the inverted side, same story. FAZ on the NYSE Arca exchange, 3 times bear ETF for the banks. Up 5.5% today, 2 days in a row here to the upside. And then this drip as well. I mean, this move in oil continues to the upside, so this thing's still kind of grinding lower. But if and when, this is a 2 times bear ETF, if and when we do get this pullback, we can even break this kind of concept down into sector-specific type ideas.
Yes, 100%. And that's sort of the thing. Like, understand that there's more sectors out there than technology is where it starts. And then even if you're in technology, the different types of names in there. And there's simply no denying the run that oil has been on. And you can do, look, you can also just diversify yourself into some sort of strong energy names, whether you like an XOM, whether you like an Oxy. There's plenty out there. And everyone's going to talk about how energy has been on a big run. And it's a difficult thing. Sometimes when you've made so much in other sectors and tech has gone on such a big run, it can be a difficult thing to jump into something and look at it at the tops. But a lot of times that's what you have to do when there's a rotation. So, ultimately you cannot ignore energy. I think the banks are going to give you some value as they started to pull back in, and the regional one's probably going to do a little better in this environment. And we are in a different environment. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the other thing you want to consider, sometimes it's about not losing money, not being at the front of the line to buy the stocks that are still ridiculously overvalued. That's another thing that you want to consider in this bear market. If it still has an insane valuation, let it drop further.
I mean, and just quickly, one other thing that I've just did, and you can follow me on Twitter where I be as honest as I can with my positions. When we had this one bump up here, one random day on July 11th, I sold this thing for 86 or 87 bucks, thinking that, hey, this name has just been beat down. They're one of those names that don't work in this environment. We've done our research, and look at Teladoc, man. Out at 87, it's now down to 76. So if there are names that you like, I mean, the thing is, what could you do in a bear market? And that is sell names you don't like that you feel are going down further and buy them back at a much, much discounted price. So I'm not even on the bid to some of these names. There's tons of them right now. DraftKings, Teladoc. I mean, you just go through it. Even the ARC ETF. So there's tons of stuff to do, Brendan. And that's why we love this business.
If you are active in this market, you always have to be prepared. There's a few ideas, guys, for profiting in a bear market. Let's talk about Blink. I wanted to mention BLNK because I just saw it pop back up on volume here, guys, trying to hold 25. Hard to believe this thing's back to 25 again, but we did get a move back above that level there on some decent volume. If you missed it this morning, they're going to supply all GM car dealerships across North America with charging stations, I guess, for on their property, I guess, once they start getting a little more activity with electric vehicles.
I mean, Blink's kind of in that bucket of names that's been under pressure. Although it's like you said, with the good news and getting a bounce, it's awesome, decent support here today. Before I move on too much about that, I put it in the chat. There's a $500,000 on the offer of a BBIG at 5.15. So if you see me short at 5.14, it is nothing more than that. If that guy goes, I'm out of here. But I'm just scalping it in front of that massive, massive order that's just sitting on the offer. Blink, it's a good move, but it's already started to fade back in. I'm just looking back towards. Here's that channel. Here's the channel that it was in last week. Pretty simple. It's got like a 24.80 high where it rolled over, and that's trying to hold support here. So if it's going to be bullish, it's got to hold above this particular level. I'd like to see it sustain this for a couple of days because these beat up names, a lot of times they bounce once on the news and they just sort of come right back in, and that goes with high valuation. Everyone's talking about the EV space, but they have all pulled back in so far. Everything infrastructure is going to make a lot of sense. But I do wonder if you can't be patient on some of these, let them base out. I mean, I still hold a piece. I sold some plug, but I still hold a piece of it that I'm willing to sort of bank on for that next year. I'm sure if you're in Blink, that's reasonable. But these little pot shots give you an opportunity to take profit if you still think you have too big of a position. Didn't really move the needle for GM this morning that I did check. But I mean, GM Ford. I mean, at some point these ones had to come back. Blink, I'd like to see it close above this 24.80. That's that key level we showed you last week support. If it gets back below there, I think it's right back into the bottom end of the trading range. And just AMC getting back to $19 level. So that one's bouncing pretty nicely. Going to check GME, which was looking like it was going to get to 100. I guess not today.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, yeah, we have AMC, so that's why we do this again. AMC, what a great trade. We're long at 13s again for AMC. So my number one stock all realized right now is AMC. We're in a small spot right now on AMC, but all realized this is my number one stock today. I mean, we went short here and absolutely destroyed it off the sticky note, right? Then it broke 18 and we did wicked, honestly, down through 18. Got a whole bunch out sub 18, then tried to short, got stopped out at 18, 13 again. And then we just said, forget that, went long. And now Bob's your uncle as AMC continues right now to get shredded on that trade. So that's a good one there. BBIG, I didn't even notice that size. So we'll check in on that one. Still a nice win for us today here on BBIG. And then DWAC tried to come back in down to 85, 86 there, but we held it and it's all the way back to its day high. So yeah, we're just like pretty happy with everything right now. Microsoft also, we're going to get ready for Justin to come through soon. But Microsoft right now, we're long 304.50. We just got out for flat there a little bit anyways at 50 when it came back up, 45 there for a little bit of a loss. So let's see. I don't know if Microsoft holds this 304 bottom, which is that's going to be my out. The 304 bottom's the out. So right now that's 50 cents worth of risk. So we got to try to get this out at near 305, or it's not going to make any sense. So 305 or so is going to be my offer right now for Microsoft, or we have a 304 breaking spot to get out. So that's my talk right now. Guys, $9 in the money on DWAC right now as we just sit here and stone cold chill and watch this name. Although it's bouncing around, there's some nice holds here in the 87 area. So I think we're pretty good. I mean, I could put a stop if we break below 86. What time is it? It's 2:43. Nah, I don't know. I still think that this can go. So let's hold DWAC for just a little bit more. Hey, man, sometimes greed is good. Let's see how far it takes us.
Yeah, I'm not going to be greedy with BBIG. Like it's bounced off VWAP, I'd say like 6 or 7 times this afternoon. So when I see that offer in there, you short 5.4. The idea is you short 5.14 and you get it out in front of support. If it dips any further, I still like that 475 area. It was 465s that was along this morning on the dips. It was a great consolidation. It basically it showed you pulling back twice right before 9:30, where it was like it's like 465 twice here, and then it bounced twice at the same price into a halt at the top. And right now, I've had a couple of tight stop fades, and this one has more to do with the 515. If it breaks down, fair enough. We're going to go 475 longs if we can get it. This still has a chance to take out the high of the day, this Vinco Ventures. And then we talked about it on the daily chart. It's this level, 560 up here, on the daily, that if it gets through that, I think it's got a chance to run. So 550 current high, 560 on the daily. As longer it holds VWAP, and if it takes out that 500,000 share order, all the more power to it. My guess is someone's taking profit there. I doubt someone's, it's so heavily shorted, I seriously doubt someone's initiating a short position for 500,000 shares. If it does, then that probably just means more upside, I guess, if they get filled.
Well, BBIG, yeah. We're still holding the BBIG, going to wait for that to happen. I don't know what happens there. Right now I'm not doing too much. I just like kind of watching this Microsoft. It seems like it's struggling at the top. We should have traded something else. We were actually looking right now for AMD, and I thought about that. AMD, we just picked the bottom on Microsoft, and the futures go up, right? AMD goes up there from 132.30 or so, the bottom, where we took the Microsoft. It went all the way up. It gave you $1 winner there. Microsoft right now, I can't even push a win here. So, it's not really, like I said, 230 we start this trade. If we started that trade on AMD at 230, we would have made $1 already. So right now, Microsoft, that's kind of how I look at these things. Microsoft versus AMD are the two that I love to trade and often do quite well on it. So right now we're just noticing that there's obviously some strength in AMD, even though the percentages are different, as opposed to Microsoft, which right now is still up as opposed to the NASDAQ, but barely, right? And so we're going to have to watch out these ones. Bouncing nicely off 304, so maybe there's something there. I don't know, man. AMC just continues to climb. We could get out if we wanted to at this 1870. That might be an area for me there. I didn't even realize Plug. Plug is one of those names, guys, where if you look at that chart again, like nasty, man. It's all these names like Plug, what's it called? DraftKings, even that Teladoc. At least Teladoc had a little bit of love back in there. Like Plug is actually one of the worst ones because back in November, you were at 45. And now you're chopped in half in 2 months. I guess that's very similar to my guy here. Palantir, let's see, that was November 24th or so. I think all these names, I'm just trying to find names that are beat down that we might like a little bit. Yeah, no, so this is only 23 to 15. So yeah, Plug is killed. I don't know, what is Blink doing? Thing is, Joe Biden really, I don't want to get political here, but some of these plays that were supposed to be good plays for since he's been sitting haven't really turned out to be great on some of the energy stuff. We can look at Jinko Solar. That was another name. JKS as we go. But there we go. So AMD pushes long right now. Microsoft pushing right now. We'll see if we can get that going, guys. We're 25 cents in the money on Microsoft, and AMD, we just took it. We're in the money now, a dime. So let's see where AMD goes off of this new position long here. AMD, guys, trying to break this 133.60.
And that guy, by the way, that seller at 515, come and gone. So already gone. Like I said, you got to take the profit out. If you're trading because of an order like that, it's not about the momentum. You're just trading because you think you have cover for 1 cent in front. So you take it out. Initially, when I hit 15s, only dark pools went off, and then that order just pulled. They took some of the fill, it looks like, and I don't think the entire thing filled. It's through that price anyways. So now we're looking at the 550 top, 560 on the daily. I keep watching 90 on and DWAC and thinking, oh, you can short 90s, you can short 89.90. But realistically, I think to get into that one, at this point, you're either already in it or you're looking for it to give you a fail break. I think that's the way that you want to play it on something like that. And I am in that BBI from this morning. That's that penny stock. look, you go to the daily, 42 cents is an obvious level on the daily chart, and it double topped at 40. There's nothing it's not too complicated. It's put in lower highs at 37. So I am in this position. I don't want this going back through 37 even. If it breaks the lower high, I'll just get out of it. The short was 39s in front of that 40 level with double top at 42 even. So BBI has been on the move, and there was that crazy IPO as well. What was the name of that stupid symbol? It was TKLF. I am watching this, but it's a dollar per share to trade, and at no point has it really had enough liquidity to seem like it's stable. I suppose that could change. If it gets high enough, I guess anything is worth trading. But for now, this one looks like it's fallen asleep.
And we're not falling asleep over here. That is for darn sure. As we spit out some more cash right there, quick 25 cents on AMD, and let's hold the rest and see if we can get going to the upside here as AMD just taking that out, man. 133.60. So in at 33, out at 60, 27 cents right there for AMD in a matter of 1 minute. So we'll scalp that out, and there it is right there. Hopefully going to be a good trade. DWAC bouncing off 90 right now. So, I mean, that's $11 in the money we have here for DWAC. So we may just wind up taking this. And that BBIG, no scalping for me, but we might as well. I mean, it's all the way up to 530 right now. That's pretty high, man. Like, we've already got a nice little win here. Long Vinco Ventures from 474, all down in here. We haven't traded it since 10:02. So yeah, let's wait to see if I still think it takes out the high, so we'll wait on that one. And that's about it, man. $9 in the money here. Now AMD's going now, yes sir. Here we go, 35 cents in the money. And although Tampa Bay took it down, we made some nice money, man. We had Gronkowski touchdown, Mike Evans touchdown. So there we go, and the over, so we already hit both. Those were great trades. For next week, we've already got Devontae Adams touchdown, and we have the Packers at minus 4.5. It's already up to minus 6. So I'm a little worried about the Niners, but we'll see what can happen there. I'm not worried about Jimmy G, that's for sure, but I think that defense is better than they're playing, and they just beat a Cowboys team that was supposed to be good, but
if he has to throw to win a game, they have some issues.
Yeah, exactly.
He had some questionable. They won the game, and I think they were impressive. Well, they were as impressive as the other.
They should have lost.
Was disappointing,
Yeah.
but they were finding some ways to maybe lose. I just know that I'm feeling pretty good because Bills were about as dominant as it can get. Like I didn't think they could go perfect against the Patriots. I guess not so smart after all, Bill. You need Tom Brady in your corner to be a genius, and he does make people look smart. AMC, it's at 19 right now. I'm looking at this lower high at 19.08. And the other thing I'm watching, of course, you might have heard me say GameStop. GameStop, similar level here at about 111. So I'm watching AMC to make sure it's not truly breaking out at the same time, but I think we're a little closer on GameStop to a key level. There was a point when AMC was breaking 19 through 18, and I went short in GameStop instead of just taking AMC, thinking it had so much room to run to 15. And now look at this huge volume spike. Did AMC just move there? No. And GameStop just spiked $2 here, and AMC did nothing. That's weird.
AMC's pretty good, man. AMC just went. I mean,
they just went $2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 18. Yeah, no, this only went 30 cents. But anyways, AMC, yeah, GameStop to the upside. We were talking about getting some of that at that 100 level. Yeah, not anymore as GME upside. Look at this. Look at the market starting to go now. So what do we have on board? Good trades, hopefully. 50 cents in the money on AMD. We just took all these for you. And then we also took Microsoft as well for you as well. So far, so good here as, the money just keeps on flying through, man. $1 on AMC, 50 cents on AMD right here, 50 cents on BBIG, $10. $10, Randy, on DWAC right now. And then, yeah, there we go. And then a nice little 25 cents or so on Mr. Softy. But yeah, we're just cruising, man. I have nothing left to do except to drink the water. And you can see right here, we are already at our 5 p.m. level, though, lower than 5 p.m. So Arun is in the building. We're drinking water. And honestly, just like Stone Cold, man, I'm Stone Cold chilling right now. All the positions are on. And there goes DWAC breaking through now up to 89.50. Just touched 90 again. So let's see. Let's see if it breaks back above. And hey, a $12 winner, $11.50 here. If we could take this out, get above 90, we'd be in the money. 10.50, then we'll see what happens. I still have that 94.50 waiting there. I think we'll cancel that. Let's see how high DWAC can go for this trade. But hey, $12 in the money, not too shabby.
Yeah, that was quick. I mean, that spike on GameStop, the second I sort of confirmed over that AMC essentially did pretty much nothing on that same move. Like, it was at 19, AMC's still at 19. This spikes up to $12 right into morning resistance levels. And I'm just going to short in front of it. Pretty simple, and then just hop on the bid here in front of that 110 level. So like, the key thing is AMC going, because AMC's been the leader today, definitely moving a little bit out in front of it. So let's see what happens there. BBIG is a bit of a disappointment, because if it's not going to go, then I certainly want it to give me a better entry price to the long side of the trade, and it's not doing either one of those things at this point. So I think you almost have to throw that one out. Unless it breaks the top, I really think it's probably going to capitulate and give you a better level. SoFi is another name. They got a upgrade, I think it was, this morning with a price target up to $40. And obviously, it's only going to the downside. Like the rest of fintech, it's just getting absolutely punished. If it gets back to what was supported, $12.50, we'll see if that then turns into a bit of resistance. But SoFi down about 6.5%. It's catching a bid. So some of these names getting off the schneid a little bit. Just going to grab on the bid here in front of a GameStop. And I think, are we ready for Justin? I see he's locked and loaded. Do we get the call?
We're just sitting here having a conversation. Hi, guys. Justin's here. Justin Kozach, Day Trade the World marketing guy. Check him out at TraderTV Justin. I mean, it's all about Activision Blizzard today. Obviously, you know, the biggest headline of the day, possibly of the, definitely of the year so far. I mean, the year is young. Talk us through this. Tell us a little bit about what you have found, and give us your thoughts here.
Right. So the big headline. I was on the subway platform this morning, and that came through my phone. I'm like, oh, well, that's a story. And then it was an eye-watering kind of amount, $68.7 billion, making it probably the biggest video game publishing acquisition in ever. I think the closest one to that was when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, but I don't think there was anywhere close to that. So it was a pretty big number. That is not something that I had expected to see. If someone would have told me yesterday Microsoft is talking to Activision and wants to buy the company, I would have said, yeah, okay.
You're crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy. And then fast forward 24 hours later, here we are talking about Microsoft buying one of the biggest video game publishing companies. I think this is, coming off the backs of like some really big news from Microsoft too, that they now have 25 million subscribers on their Xbox Game Pass. And now Activision's games, have 400 million subscribers or, monthly active users. That's going to be a huge bump for Microsoft. So I think this is great for gamers. I think it's great for people who consume game content. I think this is amazing for content creators. This is a massive, massive opportunity. Obviously, we have to go through their whole regulatory process that's going to close fiscal year 2023. So there's a lot that's going on there. It's going to be interesting to see how the powers that be say, is this a deal that's going to go ahead or not? Microsoft is gaining a lot of traction, and they're gaining a lot of power in the industry and a lot of that kind of clout. So they're they're behind Tencent and Sony now. So certainly making them a very profitable company, and also making them a very wealthy company as well. So this is going to be really, really interesting.
When it boils down, I mean, the price action today would lend you to believe, as we were discussing at the beginning of the show here at 2 o'clock. As you said, lots of hurdles. Not only are there lots of hurdles, but big hurdles to get over for this to actually get done. Let's talk a little bit about what this gets Microsoft for, those maybe on the outside looking in. What does this get Microsoft as far as property is concerned? And then on the other side of the scale, what can Microsoft do, once they have that?
Right. So this obviously this gives them access to essentially their entire library of IPs, all the games that they've created. So World of Warcraft, and obviously Call of Duty, that entire franchise, which is a massive, massive moneymaker for Activision. So they essentially get that entire library, but they're also inheriting a lot of other issues as well. Some of the biggest issues that they're inheriting are the issues around fair gameplay that have plagued Activision, particularly with Call of Duty. They're inheriting that big issue, and they're inheriting what, in my personal opinion, is kind of a failed launch at Anti-Cheat, which seems to still be, plaguing some of the more honest users, or those who will abide by the terms of service. So they're also inheriting a lot of the issues around toxicity and some very negative behavior that's happening on their platform. So there's that side of it. But they're also inheriting this ongoing kind of worker strike that Activision is undergoing with Raven QA, and the lack of communication that seems to be happening between ABK and some of the workers that are employed by the company. And unfortunately, very soon will be unemployed, as we talked about a number of times on the show. So, they are inheriting that a bit of a mess there as well. You also have to look at the other side too with Bobby Kotick and the CEO of Activision. I mean,
I found that really interesting. Yeah.
You can't talk about Microsoft acquiring Activision without talking about how beleaguered Bobby Kotick is and how the SEC investigations and a number of other investigations, sexual harassment scandals, how are plaguing the company. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but what seems to be happening is that Kotick will keep his job up until the deal's closed, and he says that he's going to be made available after close to help out with issues. So I don't think that he's all too familiar with what his future is going to be. The reality is he's going to walk away with this with a chunk of change. He may stay at Microsoft. He's going to have a job for the next 2 years. Beyond that, I think he's going to go do something else.
Obviously,
he's certainly not going to stick around and have his entire company essentially report up to Phil Spencer, which is the plan as of right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
But interesting to see the almost vote in confidence into what they're currently doing, or their current metrics as to what they're doing, by leaving him in for that 2-year period and not just removing him immediately.
I think removing the figurehead of a company, someone as well known as Bobby Kotick, for better or for worse, is always very traumatizing for their workforce. And I think keeping them in is the right way. This transition is going to take some time. This isn't a very simple knowledge transfer with a junior employee who leaves and can transfer all the work and everything they've done in a 2-week period. This is much, much bigger than that. I think that overall, as I said, I think this is great for the gaming community. I think this is great for content creators. I think this is great for people who, for people who like to consume that kind of content. I'm very curious to see now what Microsoft does with these new titles. Are they going to fix some of the issues that exist with fair gameplay? What are they going to do to fix some of the other issues around new titles? And could we see an increase or a change in the price for Xbox Game Pass as well? So that's something that I'm looking forward to.
And maybe bigger and better to come as well once this gets done. Let's go to Rumble. Everybody's been talking about the DWAC move today. Quietly, CFVI, the other SPAC that's in the background or still involved in this with Rumble, but they came out this morning and said they're going to make an investment into creating an independent payment processor, which is interesting, from a video streaming platform.
I think one of the things that that has plagued the sharing of ideas that don't necessarily align with the zeitgeist of thought is that often organizations that use those payment platforms find themselves deplatformed. This is a response to that. Now, whether or not you agree with those ideas really isn't relevant. What this is a way of almost democratizing that and taking a little bit of that power away from the likes of PayPal and credit card processors and other such companies that provide these platforms but then remove them because they don't necessarily agree with what's happening. I think it's kind of interesting that they're tying in with a payments company, but I also think that it's very smart from a content creator perspective. They're saying, we've created this platform specifically for you because we know that, or because we see that the content that you share doesn't necessarily align with the thoughts of others. So we want to make it very simple for you. Parallel is, has some great partnerships with Shopify. They deal with a lot with retailers. So it's not like they're an unknown entity. A lot of organizations know about Parallel, but for Rumble to say we're going to make this investment in this company really shows that they see the value within the platform. And I think they're also getting a lot of feedback from the users as well. We need something that is arm's length from someone else, or just completely removed, and something that we own, that we can contribute to, that we can use without a fear of losing our revenue source.
Yeah, great move for them, and you see it in the stock today, 9.25% for CFVI here for Rumble. Great stuff. Justin Kozach, Day Trade the World marketing guy. Check him out on Twitter, guys, at TraderTV Justin. Thanks again.
Thanks, Brendan.
A little look at Rumble and that ATVI deal, guys.
Yeah, I mean, CFVI, if you look at it, I mean, it's up almost at 10%. It just had a bit of a turn up at the top, but the volume, I don't know if it's hard for you to see down here, but the volume still pretty solid as it broke the high. Not necessarily as big as it was in the morning, but, you know, not everything's going to do as much volume as it was in the mornings. And you look at CFVI from the standpoint of the last time it had the spikes to the upside, you know, it did have, look, it had some trouble getting through $15. I think that's going to stand out like a sore thumb here, but closing above VWAP and sort of closing somewhere near these highs, which it looks like it has a decent chance to do, going to put itself in the news as you mentioned there, as Justin was mentioning there, certainly puts it in a bullish tone. I talked a little bit about, I kind of kicked myself as I went over to GameStop, which again, I was looking at 90 on DWAC, and then went over to GameStop, and obviously, you know, at that particular moment when GameStop had that spike up, it was more about the fact that, you know, AMC was at like 1897 or 98, and then we spiked $2, and AMC went to like 1901, so it barely moved. It was a spike up into resistance, just scalps them out here in the range. It just put in a lower high at basically the same price. So I'm going to see if I can't get quick in and out of this, but this had more to do with the fact that it was a random volume spike. There was no news or headline. Nothing really corresponded looking at the other somewhat related name. And I should put air quotes around that because it's not as if these are as tight at the hip as they used to be. But if this doesn't break 110.5 right in the half right now and give me a shot at 110, then I better see at least AMC getting close to that 1875 mark. But let's see what happens. GameStop, I am in it. BBIG's retesting that $5 level. Nothing really to see in terms of size, but each time it's come down here, it's managed to hold 98s. If it were to break through that, like I said, I'm looking 475 as your long on a dip.
Okay, so we did get out a DWAC for clean $8, man. It broke 87.50, and we were just like, you know what, that's enough. We're pretty happy with that trade. So we did get out of DWAC there on an 87.50 break. So if it goes back above 90, you know, then we'll definitely think about getting back in there and pushing that long one more time. But for right now, I'm pretty happy with getting that out. So there it is. We said that we'd hold it forever. We tried. 90 is pretty good, man. We had that 94 target in there. So that's DWAC. Held as much as we could, got out when it broke through 87.50. I mean, I'm too trained to take profit at certain levels. So that was a good one right there. And we'll put that in our pocket and give that the trade of the day. So now when you guys are watching the trade of the day, when I'm talking about it down here like at 80s when we did the trade of the day, you could see where we wound up. So that's going to be hopefully a good reference point for a lot of you traders out there, just to see what we eventually did with DWAC as that comes out. All right, so we tried. Microsoft gave a little bit back, but made a little bit of money, then lost a little bit there once it breaks back to the downside, and now we're out. So quickly, bought some softy, best out there 304.80 or so when Justin was there. Comes back in and then we get out right here. We had too many shares, so you see we had a little bit of it in and out there, but no problems breaking through 304. So about a 25-cent hit there, which could have been a lot worse as it continues its move to the downside. So there goes Microsoft. This has been paired out fine. We took out half of our AMD right away off this long at 30 out there, for that's 30 cents. And our out is going to be a break of 133. So 30 cents back and forth there on AMD. So we'll see if that one makes any sense for us to hold this back down near 33. So that's another level. And then AMC, yeah, I kind of feel like we may have also seen the top there. We have a huge runner on right now, $1. Well, now it's 78 cents in the money, but AMC continuing to work anyways. PayPal, 52-week low today. Twilio, 52-week low today. Canada Goose, 52-week low today. DraftKings, SoFi, all 52-week lows today. DraftKings just nasty throughout the day, but really these levels 22.30. Look at that, a couple nice bounce offs of 22.30. At the same time, it couldn't break through 23, but at least you have some kind of a bottom here that may eventually come into play here for DraftKings. So let's watch out for 22.30s.
Yeah, I'll bring Reggie on GameStop. And again, I think like it's worked so far watching AMC and then trading on GameStop. But if you look at, you were just sort of saying 52-week lows there, Sean,
yeah.
And I was like, it's a bit. I was about to say a firm 52-week low, but it's a distinction without a difference in my personal opinion. Like I get it, firm's not actually it's not at a 52-week low, but that's only because its run didn't, its most recent run didn't particularly coincide with some of the bigger gains that you had in 2020, like early in the 2021. Its last run was on its last catalyst, which was the news of the deal with Amazon. I don't know why I was struggling to come up with the name Amazon, but I was there. So look, it's back to that particular level. So whether it's from a most recent breakout price or whether it's from a 52-week high, this is what's happening to some of these names. We talked about Silvergate earnings a couple of times. Well, I'm going to double check on this thing, and oh yeah, that's right. Now it's down 22%. So this bad boy is probably headed to a break of 100. I didn't think there'd be volume to trade it here today. It just goes to show, like, if something is overheated and if something is going up too fast, it's never the worst thing in the world getting out on the way up, even if it looks ugly. I complained probably half a dozen times at selling this thing, at 150 when it went to $200, and then putting some of that money into Coinbase. And Coinbase hasn't even done well, but believe me, it's done better than sort of holding the bag on something like a Silvergate, which is probably going to find some support if it gets down into the 85 to 90 range that we talked about. So it looks like it's headed quickly to that price, maybe even faster than I thought. And there was, just sort of going back over, Vinco just found a bid at $5, and I am still looking at that TKLF. And then another one from last week, RELI, RELI was on the move a little bit earlier on today. I mean, it got all the way to 10, double topped. It's right at, it just bounced off the low of the day. I know it actually broke it in the pre-market. It broke this 824 area, like very, very briefly at about 10:30, and then just bounced off the low. So Reliant was up, was retesting $10 a big level. If it breaks this 825, probably going to be dead, but it had enough of a pep in the step, and I did see a decent bid there, although I don't see it now. I might take a shot long in front, but the bid that was there at 820 looks like it might have been pulled. That could have actually even been a fake bid now that I look at it.
Yeah, you can't rely on that stock very much.
Maybe it was that Jack.
PayPal. Yeah, there was a name I want to look at here. Let's check out NIO. We haven't looked at any cars today, really, other than that Rivian trade, which I was pretty happy with. And we'll have to go back to Rivian. I mean, Rivian, again, one of my top stocks today. That DWAC trade does end it, but AMC and DWAC very, very close to being top stocks for me today as well. I'm not going to trade anything that's in the middle of a range, but right here, you do have NIO taking this level. I don't really see, I was going to say 29.75 maybe as a level here. You look at a daily chart, there's not much happening. We're still very, very choppy. I still say, I mean, NIO's different because of all the deliveries they have, and some of the names in the Chinese spot have been pretty hot. Li Auto, XPeng, things like that. These are actual electric vehicle companies that have cars on the road and things like that. Not to say that Lucid or Fisk or any of those. Obviously, Lucid gets the dream, the car of the year. Lucid could be a monster situation there. Did we ever find out, Brendan, more about the lockup there? Because people were saying it's only the Saudis' shares, but that doesn't make any sense. But I mean, they could hold a lot of the shares that were purchased pre-IPO or SPAC. So we'll have to wait to see what happens there with Lucid tomorrow as that's going to come through. But right now, NIO, I still feel like NIO, this is only a 20-minute chart. I still don't like it until we really get to like 28, 50. What's up, Bren?
Yeah, so it's exactly what you just said. The Saudis own the biggest outstanding stake that's left that hasn't been released yet. And I can show it to you here if we can. There we go. 67.2% is the Saudi investment stake, but they have already openly stated that they have a long-term investment horizon. So that's why some people were saying maybe it won't be such a big event. However, the amount of shares that are coming for sale tomorrow, they still potentially hold the biggest chunk of. There will be, guys, another lockup expiration then a year from now, January 23rd, 2023, where we'll get another 51.7 million shares. So not that big, but Churchill sponsor owned 51.7 million shares a year from now, still on lockup.
Yeah, so I think that's the more I think about it and actually sit here and watch what's happening, like, you know what, it might be a nothing burger tomorrow. I believe, when someone says they're not selling, to me, I kind of think that they are going to sell. So we'll see what they wind up doing. But if it's only a couple million shares, again, we're going to have to see what the lockup means exactly, because there's 23 million shares today. We'll do like probably 30 million today, maybe a little shy of that, considering there's only 40 minutes left. But yeah, so I don't know. Let's see tomorrow. And Daniel Shea hit it on the head there when I was asking her, hit the nail on the head, because I was asking her, what do we do if we think that it's going to go to the north side here? She said you should have basically sold calls. Because if you don't think it's going to come up to 46, 47 by Friday, then you're never going to get called on those, and you put the premium in your pocket. So I think that was a good idea to have done, because I'm not sure how much lower we go on Lucid tomorrow. I'm a lot way more worried about some sort of a Rivian lockup coming through, because that's just
Ford selling.
I think they're all going to be selling, man, at some point. Yeah, Ford probably selling, Amazon probably selling. But, I mean, they don't need to. It's just they also don't need this on their books. So we'll see. Rivian is just the worst of the bunch, man. Rivian was 180 2 months ago, November 15th. Obviously, a lot of that had to do with them coming to market, but like people still pushing buy keys up here, right? All the way down to $75. So almost chopped in a third here, Rivian, not quite, but from 180 to 74, take off $105. Wow, just a nasty move downside for Rivian. This is the name that I'm a little more concerned about for any downside risk.
Yeah, I think you always look at like the shareholders, like, who's holding it and why. Like, look, man, even if the Saudis have a long-term view on the stock, it's like when you hold that much, they could still sell a decent chunk of it to take profit, which would be prudent and would make some sense. Dat chat, by the way, making a break. Oh my goodness, these might have been free. I just paid like 1/3 of a cent per share to short it because I saw it getting close to that $4 level. And yeah, this is why we sort of go over these earlier on. This is about $4 in the 50 period for DATS. It just had that parabolic move up into 380 and then just a bit of a flush here back down into 350. But hey, you got to be prepared. Brendan brought this name to our attention like a good like an hour ago. So I really don't have much of an excuse for not having paid for the shorts, but you do see that turning around. And that chat, look, good news on the spike, but it just had a monster volume spike, getting right up close to that 50 period in that $4 range, and then showing you a bit of a capitulation. Sometimes the second time it comes up, maybe it goes right to that 370 consolidation. But it almost feels like that's not going to be terribly likely. Much more interesting to see what happens down at 325. Vinco still holds that that $5 level, at least for now, and then going back over to your AMC and GameStop. I'm looking at GameStop, AMC, I think it's tit for tat. The entire range was it going up to 112, pulling back into 110 and change, and then it's just going back and forth. So I already got in and out of this range. I'm only trading it again if it breaks out of the range. I do not want to, try to jump in front here, have it break the range, get slipped like 50 or 60 cents, because the spread in this name is even opening up. Like the GameStop spread now, it's now up to like 30 cents at times, and even I saw 50 cents like a couple of seconds ago. So getting a little bit hairy to trade those. Although I do notice, that it has had a fall. Like the bid spread is sort of a little bit slower to chase it. So feeling a little bit weak here on GameStop, although I've already made my short in this stock and scalped it up. BBI, the short I'm in, the penny stock, that looks like it might ride towards the high. And whether it's today or tomorrow, 42 cents was the reason I'm short this off of 40. If it gets up to this level and can break the 42, there's a decent gap to be filled up to 50 cents. 42 to 50 may not seem like a lot, but that'll give you a decent 15 to 20% return. I am looking for a break on the stock. If it can consolidate here, this is still day one, right? And this is holding out like well above the morning breakout range. It's held VWAP for now. So as much as the short at the top has worked, it still sets up for a potential breakout tomorrow on BBI.
Yeah, so, oh man, all right. We're watching AMD here, and honestly, the NASDAQ just pulled down huge, and obviously so did AMD. So we're going to try one more long here against this bottom of 132.20 or so here on AMD. Our average price 84 right now. We're going to try it. I mean, we could take a hit here if it comes to the downside, breaks through 132. So let's see if that's the case. It's getting really ramped up here. You're not going to see anything on a daily chart. Maybe we'll see something. I got to get my order in to get out of this one. Here's the 20-minute coming down. Yeah, there's 132.20. That's what we saw today already. So yeah, we're not going to hold this too much. There's really nothing to the downside. If I hold it, it's just more like hoping that we bounce. So we don't want to do that. 132 break, fine, we're out. There's really no levels here. We may wind up, not making a great decision on this one. But what are we long here? 132.84. So that's going to be an 80-cent hit. So again, I don't really, like we should have got out at this 133 out. And I don't know why we didn't do that. I thought I had an order in, but we didn't. And then once it came to the downside, I was like, why am I still in this? And then we looked at it a little further. So we'll put on a little bit more risk. It looks like that's starting to pay off. As we just went long 60, it's up to 70 or whatever, not really paying off that much. So we'll see if it comes back up to the upside. I still think, and what I was getting at too, even though we should have got out, I think the risk to reward makes sense because I believe we can get back up here. Why not? Back up to VWAP off of this bottom. So we're going to see if it breaks 132. That'll be 80 cents worth of a risk. And I think we have a better than 1-to-1 chance that we get 80 cents worth of a win. So let's see if this can come through. But for right now, it's back over to the big desk with Ms. V.
Hey guys, it's like o'clock. I know you're busy trading, but please, if you didn't like this video yet, do it right now. Just 40 minutes left until the end of this trading day. And we would really appreciate you if you support the community. I remind you that likes are not really pleasant to us to see you enjoy what we do, but also helps us to improve YouTube algorithm. So guys, please, if you didn't like this video yet, do it right now. It's the perfect time and help us get to 1,000 likes as quick as possible. Back to you guys.
So like, this is sort of a crazy here, and thank you, Ms. V, for putting some sunshine in what just happened. As Sean was noting, the market started to come back down. A lot of times you look at some of the small cap names like BBIG, Vinco, and this BBI that I'm in. I don't want to confuse those two, but at the same moment, they both had a down spike here. So Vinco's now below that $5 mark. I saw AMC go down. I saw BBI go down. GameStop all just spiked down when we retested, and this is the futures here. The NASDAQ just retested, and I think very, very briefly broke the low of the day, although it's back above it now. You're going to have the ES get very, very close, not quite at the low of the day, but get very, very close to that. It's just a lot of times, like I'm not used to seeing a spike down in the futures like that and then look over and it's like the small, like I guess the heater stocks, like your small cap gappers or, like 100% clubbers. Usually those aren't rolling over at the same time as if they care what's going on in the market. But that just happened in a whole swath of names that I was watching there. And it already was going on in DATS, which has pulled back and is now trying to consolidate off 350 here. So it slides down. It's not giving you that shot at 370. Looks like that was, that's a 10% move from the top is pretty much what you're looking for at this time of day. So unless it pops up really quickly on like one little spike and I can get short like at 370, this might be down to, you can try it long, 325, give it like 10, 15 cents. Otherwise you're going to have to sit it out. But 40 minutes to go here. At this point, you just want to see if the market can hold up. I'm sort of sick and tired of the market closing right on the low of the day, not catching those rallies, even when they found decent bottoms. And speaking of which, here's SoFi, which didn't quite get to 1250. It's close to that 12 even dollar level. It's already put a bottom here once. 1212, check that, is the current low of the day. So there's been a couple of opportunities. It was Virgin Galactic at like $10. When it got to the end of last week, and there was one at AMC. Like if I see one of these stocks, and this is what 08 gave you this, like you'd see these stocks that are depressed, they'd get to an even level, and sometimes there's a good scalp defense. So SoFi is the closest one I can see to something like that. It would be $12 even, with about 20 minutes or about 40 minutes to go. Only 15 cents. I didn't get in front of the bid the first time on Virgin Galactic and then watched it go from 03s right up to 15s. If I get a chance at SoFi like 12, 03, 04, 05, I'll take the scalp trade with a stop at 12 even. I think it's a kind of trade in a downward market as a day trader. Sometimes you lean into those. Short sellers that are day trading have to cover too. So if they see a big bid at like $12 even and they're short this thing when it broke 13 or maybe short it when it broke 12.50, certainly they got to think about taking profit, and you can take advantage for some short-term trades.
Yeah, short-term trading I think is, you just put your hat on at the beginning of the day and figure out what you're thinking, and then try to adjust as the day goes on here, because there's always going to be great opportunities. That SoFi at 12 could be another one. And just an update there. We're going to stick with our gut here and get out once levels are broken. So there's VWAP right there on AMC. So I thought I did a pretty good job diamond handing this one. Almost the whole move there. We had it almost all the way back. We should have, if I get out at 19.10 and the thing rips up, that's not diamond hands anyways, right? So we'll get out right there. Obviously, we could always do better. I'm trying to hold as much as we possibly can right now into this market. I'm looking at Bitcoin as well. We could check in on the portfolio quickly here today. And just to see what's happening, I'll refresh it. Sometimes when I do this, it doesn't really work out too good. Cardano still 26% over the last 7 days. A lot of that movement's happened over the weekend from 125 up to 161 or so yesterday. Cardano pulling back to 142. It was up to 155 when we logged in today. Bitcoin 41.5, Ethereum 31 and change. Solana, the name that I like, one of the most, but I mean, it gets talked about a lot, down to 136 right now. We had a couple guys, we had Sam Bankman-Fried talking about Solana on the show. So, I mean, there you go. Polygon as well, 211 down there, so you can watch out for that name. Some people like the Crypto.com coin, CRO. Wow, that's at 43 cents as well. So I've sprinkled in a lot of these, but as it goes, my top three, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. So Bitcoin and Solana, very, very similar in holdings, and Matic as well. So, but Ethereum, Cardano, my number 2 coin, my 1 and 2 with Ethereum 1, Cardano 2 in my holdings. So if you guys like any other names, I know there's a lot of love for Luna. There's a lot of net love for a few other coins as well. We don't have to talk about them all now, but you guys can definitely tweet at me. It's AMC 1890 right now. Disney, you know what? Like, there's not too many green names out there today, but we've talked about buying Disney and maybe possibly holding on to that for a little while. You could see Disney right now bouncing at VWAP, giving us a possible entry right now, but still positive on the day, up 0.1. Wow, for Disney, 0.1 today. I don't want to take this level as I look at it on a 3-minute chart. We're still well below, so this is a 1-minute chart, so we're still well below the 3-minute VWAP down here, up here as well at 152.50. So we'll wait for that one to come through. But right now, Disney, yuck, just keeps on. I don't know, man. I thought this would work a lot, and it hasn't. It's been getting. It had a nice bounce to 158, I think it was, recently there. Disney, yeah, here it is. So the Disney pop-up, yeah, was to 160. So we did get to 158, 159, which is really where the key levels were, and now we're back below the 50-period moving average. So yuck. Really not too many places to hide right now in the market. If you hid in banks, well, peekaboo, they found you today, anyone hiding in the financials.
Yeah, you got to think about what your time frame might be, and always look on a day like today. Look for where there is some strength. I know there's not always going to be a ton, but you can definitely find it. Obviously, energy is going to stand out, but I mean, Eli's up today. Some of that they should never have been down on the Biogen thing, anyways. But like and they're probably still going to catch a bit of a bounce there. And it's crazy enough to say, but I'm gonna look into that ATVI just a little bit more, because I think. Look, it did bounce, by the way, off that 81.50, but it's still close enough to the low, down at 82.50. The more I'm going to have to look into this and sort of read up on the reasons why everyone's seemingly ridiculously bearish on this. There'd be a point at which, past a trade, there's sometimes every now and then value in sticking something into a buyout. But just understand, and we talked about this on Trader Pratt Show in the midday, just because they're being offered $95 does not mean you're guaranteed to get $95 in a year. Like, there is always a chance a deal does not go through. Like, if you look at the ARM deal for NVIDIA, even now, it's like people are still thinking that Xilinx isn't 100% for AMD, and that seemed like a lock almost the entire time, despite far greater, like there's easily, to me, more antitrust concerns with those two deals than there should be with Microsoft and ATVI. But the market's telling you that the discount is pretty steep. But at some point it gets so cheap, it's definitely worth the shot. Like, if you say to yourself, okay, well, Activision here, I'm just pulling up the daily chart, just get an idea of how far it's come. Like, if this thing were really to go back into like previous support, get below that $80 and start trading in that mid-70 range, like, forget about it. Like, that's just a little too crazy for me. At that point, like, somebody either knows something or just the market's broken, and there should be at least a few people willing to bet on a bit of a bounce. I did cover more of this BBI when the market bounced off the lows there. And I said some of the small caps went. This stock goes to VWAP, and it does not go any further. So once again, I'm going to be covering more at VWAP. I still think this one sets up for a break tomorrow. Anytime a penny stock gets depressed, has volume, holds decent volume going into the close, not fantastic, but it's day one. It's not even above 50 cents at this point. Like, it's not an auto fade. If I have a level, I'm going to play it like we did today. And this stock, since it broke $1, you can pull up the daily all you want. Like 80 cents, 60 cents, and about 40, just above that 40 to 42 area. Those have all been resistance. So I think you can kind of guess as it goes to each of those levels. If it does, I think it's a fade at those prices. And I'm still looking for the breakout potentially on BBI. I just want to see it hold the next half an hour here to make sure it's not absolutely dying. And a good question here, Hashem, asking about what I think about AMAT. ASML reports tonight, right? So you have, I think, one of the gold standards for chip machine companies in ASML. I think they have obviously a huge footprint, and they have a place in the space where almost nobody can get by without them. I like AMAT of the three. I think Lam did really well last week, but if ASML punts today, if ASML punts on their earnings, and of course this is dual listed, so it trades in Amsterdam, then I think AMAT's going to be under pressure as well. And I don't think, I don't think
AMAT today.
Yeah, it's down like 5.5% into these.
No.
Is it 6 now?
No.
Is it more?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but either way.
No, I'm just saying maybe there's value already.
No, I see. I actually don't think so yet. And I like AMAT. Like, I want to see ASML trade tomorrow, because if ASML gets pummeled, it'd be easy to say, okay, we'll just buy it off the 50 period. But if I look at the chart of AMAT, like look at the channel. This is what led me to this in the first place. It was the channel it was in with this top here at a 145, and then you had this easy, like previous break, 125. Hold support 125, 145 channel. Bounce off the 200 period at 125. So if I'm looking at it at the 50, I'm like, if ASML is bad enough, then I might be thinking about the 200 period down at 140, like you were able to get before at 125. So I probably would have been thinking about buying this if it wasn't for earnings in the space. I think if they're bad enough, there's a decent chance we get a nice print. A nice opportunity to pick up some better values here. It's so early in the year, even for names I like, I'm being super, super patient with them, and I'm throwing AMAT into that bucket. I'm going to let ASML settle down. I'll probably stink bid this in front of the 200 period moving average, and I've only put, as the market started to come back to the downside, and we're talking about interest rates, that's when I threw up the 200 period, because if you like a stock and it bounces off that level, then I think it's going to be a buy at that price. And, I'm sort of sitting here and it looks so good at the 50 period, but to me, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not as if I was selling a bunch at the top anyways and need to be rushing back into this thing. So I think this is a market where you can let things start to settle down a little bit, and AMAT with especially 8% going into ASML earnings, like that's 3% more than when I looked at it at the beginning of the show. So I think that's kind of a hint as well that you can have further pullback than you expect in some of these names. So, have your bids out there. Know what you want to buy and where. Don't be afraid to change your mind on it. Like, I clearly just changed my mind right here. I mean, 8%, I thought we were down 5. We're already at the 50 period. I think we can get down to 140 if ASML, it's bad enough. Certainly, maybe I'll have a stink bid in the 142, 143 range.
Yeah, wow. I mean, hopefully some of these bids can get filled. I mean, that's what we want as long-term investors. We want to get the best prices. But I wanted to let Neil finish there. Then we hit the new position alert because we have DraftKings on board right now. We shorted the 43s there. It just went to 35. Probably should have taken some out, as this is a really quick mover right to the downside there. And I'm expecting, I'm sitting here on the bid near the low of the day. So if it cracks a little bit lower than this, then we can get out, as right now the NASDAQ starting to get elevated to the down. Elevated, I guess, opposite. Starting to drill down lower here as we're getting ready to close on the lows. It looks like we just made a new low. Like we talked about that 10 minutes ago, 15,216 right now, and looking to bounce off. We still have the imbalances coming out, so hopefully that'll give some reprieve to some of these trades. But right now we're getting very, very close to tippy here on AMD, as AMD went right back into the money for us, man. Like just 2 seconds ago, we were in the money on AMD. We didn't take it. Like I said, we're hoping for a little bit higher highs here, not higher highs, but a higher movement than this last area here of 133. So hopefully this can get going. We're holding out hope for this DraftKings. Come on, baby. We're at 32s right now. It's printing 33s. Maybe we'll just change this, take a dime, and move on from there. What up, V?
Hey guys, we've got a poll. Do you think NASDAQ will close down more than 2% or less than 2% today? For now, NASDAQ is down more than 2%. Let's see what's going to happen. Still 30 minutes left until the end of the day. If you didn't participate in the poll, please do so. It's right in our live chat. And just to let you know, 1,476 people participated in the poll, and we're still not having 1K like even. So team, please, if you was able to participate in the poll, I'm pretty sure you have the like button and you can smash it. So please do so. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. When the poll got put up in the Market Mover show around lunchtime, I put in that I thought we'd close, above like 2%. We're right that 2% mark. And okay, get a muted rally. We'll be just above, maybe like 1.5, that kind of a thing. And instead, we're going to roll lower. At this point, I mean, barring what happens with the imbalances, it does feel like we're going to be below that 2% mark, but I can't really change my vote. I put in 2 that we'd be a little bit above, and it's clear that hasn't happened. Lucid rolled over a bit. Getting towards it. I mean, the current low of the day sits at like 39.25. I was looking at SoFi, which doesn't look like it'll test 12. Maybe tomorrow, I mean, certainly, close enough that $12 is going to be in play. And SoFi doesn't necessarily have the same story, of course, with the lockup expiration as Lucid. So I know Lucid's at a 39, but that's not the same thing as SoFi. Like, I wouldn't be sitting on a Lucid bid at 39.05 trying to scalp it when it's going into the lockout. Even if I don't think it's going to be falling 20% tomorrow, some ridiculous move, I still think there should be some selling going into Lucid, and sticking in front of that bid could be a little bit of a dangerous game. Somebody said that BBIG, Vinco Ventures, had the 500,000 shares that went from the offer went to the bid. I can't confirm that. I didn't see it. It did bounce. I canceled my 77 bid because it just broke back above 5 even, so I guess it doesn't want to go down here. Still pretty, still high enough that I think maybe we get the 560 break, 550, 560. I think you're splitting hairs on Vinco Ventures. I think it's that and BBI that I'll be watching probably the most in the small cap space tomorrow, because they're closing, at least for now, they're trying to close at or above VWAP. And then try to hold up. And they have some really, really good levels for potential breakouts tomorrow. And another thing in a bearish market, if you're looking for bullish style trades, like, try to find things that have their own independent moves and independent momentum, right? Like, when you're taking along on DWAC or on Vinco Ventures today, it's not as if you're terribly worried about what's happening in the NASDAQ. And truth be told, like, almost every, like, if you're trying to play longs in, like, whether it's, if you're trading like Apple or Facebook, like, you are having to keep an eye on what's going on in the overall market. In the NASDAQ, you could have a great level, and it just doesn't matter if the NASDAQ starts to roll over, whereas you're trading a Vinco and it starts to go and you got a good level off of it. It's much more likely to just be a pure momentum play. And that's another thing that's happening in these markets. So I'm more about these small caps when the market moves like this. I mean, you still trade some of the bigger names, especially favoring the direction. That's why I'll always be shorting a firm if I get the opportunity to, until it's eventually along. I think maybe 60s will be support for that particular stock. And I did not get back into GameStop, but it is worth showing. It is still grinding off that same price range. So that 112 level looks like it is pretty decent support, but it's just barcoding off of this. And I'm seeing AMC do exactly the same thing. Our AMC, GameStop, both barcoding down 5% and 8% respectively, but it is a strong gain that both had off the bottom. Like, GameStop climbed $7 off of the bottom, so you take that 5% with a grain of salt.
Yeah, AMC back to 19 or so. Okay, look, I mean, I'm still holding this BBIG. BBIG's been a good one for us today as we sit there. You can wait for it. We'll wait for it. So that's what we're doing, just chilling out right now. 540 or so. Like, we get out the day's high, we'll do that, man. I mean, it's been a good trade for us, been back and forth. We didn't scalp it. We could have bought more down here. We should have bought more in this area. So let's just see, does it have one more run into it here today? And we're just holding out on this. We take our last bid there, 475, our best out 510, which is right where we're at right now. So we could have just kind of changed up the game and done nothing for a while and been fine with it. All right, so added stay lows now is DraftKings, as low as 26. We're short 43. We're a dime in the money. We already took out half of our position. I was waiting to get more shares to use this VWAP as our out. So if it did rip against me up here, we would have been averaging in, but that doesn't happen. So now we go back to the downside here on DraftKings and see if it holds. I mean, unfortunately, it's going to be that simple. AMD, the same thing. Okay, well, AMD's not going to hold. So AMD coming down here, we're waiting for it to hold this 132. It doesn't look like it wants to. It's still ticking lower and lower and lower. So AMD is going to be the one name here that we've taken. And unfortunately, it was all because, honestly, that we didn't get the outrate here. And then we were looking and saying, you know what, we might as well hold to the end of the day. But, we're kind of playing with fun money right now. So it's been a good day for us. But at the same time, we don't need this to be a loser. But breaking through 132, they're goes the level right now. Look at the NASDAQ at its day's low. So a name like AMD that's been following the NASDAQ today and even more aggressive to the downside definitely is not going to work in this environment. So maybe we'll take a piece out if it does rip back up into the teens. But for now, looks like we'll get taken out on a 132 something break. Oh, we're in the teens now. We're halfway through. So if you know what trade we're at right there, we'll take a little bit out if we can, take about a quarter out or so if it prints us in the teens, and then we'll get out of a quarter just to move some risk. But right now, AMD is coming to the downside, and we're not going to let this break. I mean, the last thing that we want to have happen here is testing lows, which it's already doing, into the close, and then it just gets amplified as imbalances come out in 13 minutes. We're the wrong way on this name, and it's see you later all the way to the downside. So we're willing to get out here on a 132 break, a little bit lower than that, but at the same time, you know, it's tipping there. So if we can get a little bit of a bump into the teens, like I said, we'll get some out on, there it goes, some out here on AMD. It resists a little bit of a drop. We're waiting a little bit lower than this, but as I can see fit right now, we're going to get taken out here of AMD. So that one is a losing stock as it just can't find a bid today. AMD down 4%.
So one that was down, well, it's still down on the day. SBEV just, it halted upside. It already reopened, trying to retest. And it's worth noting here, I'm pulling it back so you can kind of see where it was on Friday, up around that $4 range. It closed just above 4 at 4.18. So you know what level that turnaround at? And we're talking about that in the afternoon show. But the pre-market high is at 350. So it halts at 338 or so, opens back up, tests 350, and then fails. So it looks like the pre-market highs proved to be too much resistance there. But it is worth noting, you know, like where the stock had sort of come from. You know, it had a couple of decent runs. If you look at this, sort of this tight move, then a secondary breakout late last week, and then got to the 420 area and then pulled right back. It's not quite like a Head and Shoulders because this peak here is at about 330, but it's not too far from it. Like if this doesn't hold 350, it will be setting up like a little bit of a Head and Shoulders. So 350 is the level I'm watching on SBEV. Certainly has a chance to break it, and you know, still 20 minutes left in the session. So if it breaks 350, I mean, I still have the chance to be able to go long on a 350 break, but it's a pre-market high. Like this is the level I'm looking at. Like forget about, you know, like where it halted. Forget about this little peak here to 345. 350 is the level I'm watching on SBEV.
Come on, like I'm just sitting here watching BBIG trying to do something not. I'm sitting here watching AMD doing a little bit of a dance and nothing really happening. I mean, we could check out, ooh, okay. So here we go. So yeah, this is what's happening. Lucid right now, getting woodshedded a little bit here in the afternoon, 40, 50, all the way down to 39. Let's take a 39 break on Lucid. I don't even need to look at the charts for this one. Let's put this in right now. If Lucid breaks 39, we're going to go short on this name because tomorrow is the day, so I don't really care. We're going to go short on this one here into this move. We'll see what happens for Lucid. We do know that it can obviously take itself right back upside. So watch out for a break of 39 if and when that does happen here for Lucid. That's a daily chart. We don't want that. Where's my minute? Here it is. Let's see where we're going to go on this one. Oh, wow. I mean, I don't... You know, when we break, I believe we'll break and come back up, there really isn't any stopping spots here. So I'm going to maybe just like lower my shares on this break because I don't really know where to go if and when we break this, like if I'm wrong. And I hate that. Like if, whoopsies, I don't know what I just did there. I put in a trigger order way too low, I think. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, here it comes. It's going to break right now, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, it's about 100. Is that 10,000 or 100,000 on there? 100,000 on the offer. Let's see if we actually can. Like again, this is a scalp trade because there's only 20 minutes left here to go, and I think we like these levels. I would have taken a long if it would have given SoFi off 12. I didn't want a long on Lucid at 39. I thought this is the level we'd look at tomorrow. I guess it's going to be today. I'm still watching SBEV because I do have a stop that I'm now canceling. It looks like it's not breaking the high of the day, Brendan. Yeah,
not seeing anything initially on that. Splash Beverages, if I do recall correctly. This is it's relatively small, 22 million float on SBEV. Remember, this thing doubled or more than doubled on Friday. So, I mean, it was down significantly on that. But, yeah, not seeing anything initially on that. Wanted to mention this one as well. GROM, G-R-O-M, up big time here this afternoon. Trying to rally as well into the close on volume, guys.
All right, so our AMD came out, so just to give you an idea, it does drop down here. But that's fine, like I'm not even, I mean, it's not fine, sucks to lose. Right now though, DraftKings right here, yeah, smoking the good stuff on DraftKings. As right now, that's 30 cents in the money, short 44s, well, by by 30 cents, I mean 23 cents in the money here, as I thought we were short 50, but yeah, we're short 43s. So down here to 21s. We'll see where that goes. Taking out the new low of the day here on DraftKings is every print now lower. So let's hold this. We'll see what we can do on this name. But and of course, we got out of that AMD. I wasn't going to hold that into this close. And then right now, all eyes for me on Lucid. We've already done the dance one time through 40, and it dropped down once it broke 40, dropped down to 39.24. And right now, we're having some resistance at that 39 level. So like Neil mentioned there, maybe the long was the right play, but I don't want to do it. So coming through 39, we'll see. That might have just given us an answer there. It ripped back, not ripped, but it tried to break, I was going to say, and it stopped at 15. So let's see where this stops. Because again, I need a spot to execute against if we're wrong. So we're trying to find that out right now as it's going back up to the upside 39.20 right now.
This is like it's Virgin Galactic all over again, right? Like it was coming into a level, it was a stock that I wanted to short, and then right at the end of the day, it bounces off like an even dollar. Look, I would have, SoFi to me, it's a different story, and I would have done it at 12, but I just couldn't bring myself to go long at 01, especially when the 100,000 shares doesn't really seem like a heck of a lot there on Lucid. Yeah, and it is right back up. So you could have had, you can get that scalp trade in. You know where your stop is. It's not like, I guess if you go long 01, there's no secret to what your out's going to be. It's just a matter of how much slippage you get. So my guess is you could have gotten slipped maybe as much as 5 to 10 pennies, but at this point, it looks like your risk reward would have worked out pretty well. So good for anybody that did the long. Raphael, you're right in the chat. They're mentioning the SBEV with the Walmart deal, but that was last week's news. Just coming back to it because I know it was a late runner just now. It's just pulled back into VWAP. So I wasn't going to pay for shorts that late in the day. 350 was the level, so if I didn't want to short it this late in the session, it was only going to be a scalp breakout at 350. You know, if it holds about $3, it has a chance to consolidate. You're always looking for, you know, like it did the first time it moved up. Like either you find a good consolidation, higher lows, or you get the secondary breakout. So for now, I'm looking back at like 265 to 280 where some of this chop was before. Otherwise, it's breaking a 350, and that'll apply for tomorrow's trade as well. Those levels are just as good. Lucid's right back to 39, so I guess this can still happen.
Yeah, I'm like still thinking about the same thing right now for that to be happening. But I'm still long BBIG. I think we'll just take it out here if we can get an 09 print on that spot. It's just, what's the point? It doesn't look like it wants to go. Okay, so Lucid, I said that we would do a little bit of work there to see where we bounced to. We bounced to 39.20 there. So I think like a break a little bit higher. Obviously, if we break through 39, we're going to hope that we're able to get it. We may not be able to, guys. So that's going to be really the key for us here. Do we get a 39 break? And if we do, I think a stop back to 39.30 or so, willing to take 30 cents worth of a hit. I mean, if you're not willing to do that, I mean, let's see how far Lucid goes in the first place. Hopefully it cranks a little bit lower as we're just waiting for this to break, as there goes DraftKings as well. I mean, slap it WTF all over DraftKings, guys. I mean, this stock has just been WTF'd for the last, I don't know. I mean, I could zoom back out for this. I don't even know how far to tell you. We did get a little bounce back on the New York news. And remember, I said, no, that doesn't mean anything really. I mean, it means a lot to the industry, but nothing to DraftKings specifically. Now you're making a move to the downside here. And until customer acquisition is a little bit better, then honestly, DraftKings is going to keep getting hit, man. I mean, I talked about it over the weekend there. I see ads for Caesars, MGM. Everybody's promoting online gambling. So, and you know what? If they're not able to make money during COVID, I'm very, very nervous. Like, you know, COVID basically allowed, everyone to sit at home. Although there wasn't sports for like 8 months or so, you know, people, once it came back, I feel like gambling was like near an all-time high, at least around my circles. So watch out here on DraftKings. If they can't win in this environment, I'm not sure when it's going to turn around, because we already talked about it. Fed's coming. We have multiple interest rates expected, hikes expected this year. Not good for a company burning cash. So, yeah, I don't like the name anymore, but if you're going to be in this space, I like them. It's a falling knife, and I don't know where to stand in front to catch it, you know? So we're going to have to wait on that. Like, catching bottoms for Clover didn't exist. Catching bottoms for PaySafe, although as a shareholder, I got emailed, they're suing PaySafe. So watch out for that one. Anyways, needless to say, a lot of these companies, without making space is another one. I know Neil's talked about that. Affirm, we've talked about that as well. All these names. What about Upstart, UPST? Like, is that still near 120? Now, 110 now for Upstart? This was a $500 name, guys. Upstart was, I believe anyways. I mean, I was good. All these names confused. Yeah, 410, sorry, for Upstart, right? Down to $100. So 25%, wow, of its value still left in Upstart, but wow. Okay, Neil, I don't have anything else to say other than Lucid. I was kind of just like delaying the Lucid.
I don't think it looks like it's not breaking. I mean,
No.
it just bounced again off that level. So I mean, I don't know how many times I'm going to stare at it. Someone was just, I think it was Dominic saying, did I notice a battle in Funware in level 2? I'm like, no, I didn't. And did I notice CCL at 22? No, because I'm staring at Lucid, which, it's like, or get off the pot. And if it doesn't want to break, then we're staring looking for a trade, which might not even come into play. Meanwhile, the battle being waged on the level 2 on Funware looks like it got won by the sellers. It made another fresh high before pulling back, but that could just be profit taking in front of 350 at the end of the day on a bit of a run. Look, we've said this about a million times. But when you have a lot of these runners at this point in the session, if they don't get, I'm just going to the, I'll zoom in on the daily chart, maybe give you the 15-minute look. When you make these sort of late breaks and you get the next obvious level ends up being a round number like a 350, a lot of times if it's going to make the break this close to 4 o'clock, it happens at or after 4 o'clock. So, profit takers from day traders that have to be flat at 4, if they're holding the long, usually a lot of times will hold it up. And then if you want to get any more gains on the session, then it's either a really, really late break when all of that selling is done, or it happens after 4. And that seems like what's going on here, some profit taking. It's still barcode. This is ridiculous barcoding on that BBI. I'm just going to get out of it. And Vinco Ventures is going to do the same thing. Like by the way, this is good for the bullish part of the trade, right? Like it's holding up a higher low. Successive higher lows actually on both of these names, which sets them up for breaks that I think can possibly come tomorrow. So we'll still be looking back to those. Lucid, at this point, it gave you now 25s off the 39 level. That just means 39 is still actionable. And as was just mentioned in the chat, CCL at 22, that looks pretty interesting for tomorrow's trade as well. That just bounced off its low of the day. So the market bouncing off the lows, it's not going to get above 2%. So what I voted in the poll looks like it's not going to be correct by a long shot. 2.5% of the downside on the NASDAQ.
Yeah, that was a good one. Stop console wars there. Stop betting on DraftKings. No pun intended. That was a pretty good one. Good one there. And look, if it wasn't for DraftKings, I should say, if it wasn't for online sports gambling, then I wouldn't have been able to make some money this weekend. So I do like the product and I do like what we're talking about, but at the same time, you got to be very, very aware of the environment we're in right now. I like Google down 2.3%, right? Much more than I like DraftKings down 6% or whatever DraftKings is down. Lucid with the comeback. The reason why I have this up is we're getting very, very close right now for a imbalance locator to come through. What's up to John? Yo, what up, John Wilkins? 19 months. Good day, man, today. See you all Thursday. Thursday, okay, yeah, we'll see you Thursday for sure, John, but thank you so much. 19-month member, that might be a record. Got to do some work to find out what these records are exactly. All right, Lucid, I have it up here just in case there is a big seller. It doesn't look like there is. So right now, Lucid just doing nothing. We can see what's here. Whoopsies. I was gonna say we cleaned it up. There's no big, huge ARCAs here anymore. But GoTo, I guess there must be something. That's a dollar stock, so nothing happening there. Coke, what's up to our Berkshire Hathaway holders there as Coke's starting to go ham a little bit. And XOM has a bit. Other than that, I don't see a hell of a lot, but no surprise here. XOM, Coke, some of the big guys still have some moves to go. Yeah, and that IPO from earlier, TKLF is halted to the upside with 10 minutes to go. Based on when it halted, 348. Yeah, it might not open until 4 o'clock. This debuted, the issue was at $4. It's an ADR. It opened up at 41. It went all the way to 12, and looks like it has a decent chance in the aftermarket to get back to $40. So I think you're definitely trading this with a lot of caution. Because it obviously has very, very low liquidity. So I didn't even think about trying to pay for shorts to short this one. And someone just said, Neil, Sundow's on the imbalance. Did I miss that? I don't see it, but it doesn't mean it's not on there. But asking if you're asking if it's on the imbalance, I don't see it anywhere near the top. I'm not going to look. And it's a penny stock. So if it's not. My list is I sort of show the top 50, the top up to about 500,000 on the imbalance. And if a penny stock doesn't have a 500,000 imbalance, it's not big enough. So I'm going to say Sundial is not on the imbalance with any significant size. Yeah, no, we can have the imbalances up again. I don't have it sorted by any sort of.
It would need to be a couple million at least.
Yeah, I mean, so that's another point. We can talk more about this if you guys want to, but basically imbalances don't really mean anything unless it's a certain percentage of what's been traded throughout the day, right? And so I'm not trying to give away the ghost here or anything like that, but when Sundial's done, how many millions of shares
It's
today?
63,000 to sell. It gets basically non-existent.
Right, so there you go. So Neil just kind of answering the questions there for you. On that kind of an imbalance, we don't really care a whole hell of a lot about it, right? So needless to say, there's nothing on here. Maybe LVS. We saw Win today make some nice moves as well. So maybe Win/LVS could be made whole, but you're still almost red on LVS into, I thought it's a sell imbalance there. So you're seeing this is a 1 minute chart. So not affecting it too much, but it looks like LVS does have some sell pressure on it. It's starting to make moves to the downside. So I don't know. Nothing for me is probably going to hit unless that Lucid breaks 39, which I don't know if we want it at this time.
Yeah, and guess who was still on the bid of SoFi? So that went down to that $12. That came, obviously still came in today. Obviously Lucid would have worked. In SoFi, it's like, okay, it has like 7 minutes to try to bounce off of this 12 level. And look, ultimately it's a scalp trade, so it doesn't have to move very far here. But Lucid was the better one, I thought, because of the lockup expiration. That SoFi, if it got to 12, would be a better bet. Didn't have the negative news on it. It would just be a simple round number long, and it was 03s on Virgin Galactic, so I tried 3s here today. And that's just, okay, well, that was an even dollar about the same time. It bounced off 10 and only went to 3s, so I decided to go long 3s. I'm going to be out of this if it gets to 15, sort of just getting offers on the way to the upside. With only 7 minutes here to go, Brendan, another name for us?
All right, yeah, a few things to know coming up tonight and before the open tomorrow morning. We'll get into a few more banker earnings, guys. There's also some from the chip group to tell you about. So here we go. Earnings for tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, look, stay out of the way of those banks until you really see what happens. I mean, I don't think it's worth making a call on any of those. I mean, I've already made the call downside on all these banks, and I think it's so far so good on that call, but we'll see what happens here. State Street's there. I mean, whatever. We've talked about ASML. I mean, tomorrow's just going to be exciting. I mean, stay tuned here. You saw what we did today to AMC. You've seen what we did to some of those other names today, including Rivian, DWAC, Alibaba. I mean, a few good names, ATVI today, AMD. So, I feel like as long as, and none of those names report, what I was getting at is none of those names reported. So we'll see tomorrow. It should still be a good day for us, as right now it looks like DraftKings is right at its bottom. We might as well just get out a nice little trade here to end the day on DKNG, guys.
Yeah, I mean, you're just looking at PG, they're down about 2%, getting towards its 50-period moving average. I got in, I got out of SoFi. So, I mean, it gave a little bit of a scalp, but I just realized, hey, 12.55, when the bounces tend to pair and flip a little bit.
Yep.
Oh, come on. I could put in NY for SoFi, which is obviously incorrect. Yeah, so it just got all the way up to like 12.10, decided to take it off, not let it even get to that 3.55 moment. It's clearly not as good as Lucid, but I think there were reasons, logical reasons to think that this had a better chance to catch a bid off that even dollar level than Lucid did, despite Lucid being the better trade, just by a little bit, because I guess if you go by like 10 cents on SoFi, about the same thing as 35 cents or whatever it was on Lucid. Miss V, one more time.
Hey guys, we've got a super chat from Eric Salazar. Thank you so much, Eric. How do you see the market the next few weeks? Would it make sense to move long-term investments away from the growth stocks and more conservative? Could we see another 5-10% decline? Guys, how do you see markets in the next few weeks?
Yeah, declines. I mean, thanks for the question again, Valeria. Great question, by the way, whoever asked that. But I just don't see any relief here in a lot of these names. So I keep saying the same thing. I talked to my father about it this weekend, and I'm talking to myself and saying, self, you got to wait. And I just think that, when you look at a stock, I mean, today we had Microsoft with news today, but you look again at stocks that are way off their 50-period moving average, high-quality names. It looks like they want to test this 200 period. Neil gave another example. I think it was ASML or AMAT. Anyways, both of them. A lot of names are near these levels. So for me, again, just talking, the NASDAQ still has room to go. A lot of us know that still that have been on the show. So, I think that there's still some room to the downside. We're going to hear from Fed this week again, or is it next week? They're going to be coming out. We'll hear exactly the kind of, tone, and we'll see what the meeting brings from the Fed. But honestly, if these rates are going to get hiked, which it looks like they're going to, inflation last week definitely looks to be under control, but still the numbers are still bad. They still got the 7 takeout. What was it? Food and autos, I think, was still 5 something. So it's still not good. I don't, you know, I think it's time to nibble, but at the same time, I don't think we're in the clear yet. So I think it's just all about your time frame. If you wanted to be a short-term trader, I would prefer the shorts, take some of those inverted ETFs. But again, if banks can't save us, remember, you still have XOM, you still have all the energy companies coming to report as well. So still more to come on that front as well. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see it, but I'm not a bull as much as I should be.
It's hard to be. Like, one of my, like, to be honest, like, if you started thinking about, like, you know, what was working pretty safely, the banks get their little run, but even something like consumer durables, like Procter's now given back, like, you know, a solid 5% from the top, just a little bit more than that after today. So, you know, until things like this find a bit of a bid, you know, we're still going to be in this market where we're pulling back. I know earnings could maybe help some of these names, but, you know, certainly the high valuation names, absolutely not. Like, I wouldn't touch. I'm talking the hyper, like, just not with a 10-foot pole for some of these super high valuation names. But even the quality, like, I'm looking at Procter, and if it can't hold support at here 56, can't hold a 50 period, then certainly there's good levels back down at the previous breakup prices. That's what I feel about AMAT, another name that I absolutely love. So look, it's going to be. I think you're going to have to wait out the earnings season. Know the price levels that you're really confident with, and only stick to those. And if you have to think twice about it, then patience is the key, because it's not as if anyone's expecting runaway gains in the overall market this year. We're not seeing 20% gains in the S&P. So if you're a little bit late, then you've played it safe, and then maybe you get an even better price. And I think there's going to be some deals to be had here. So with 90 seconds to go. It just crossed the 2.5% mark to the downside. Was asked about Vinco just quickly, and I answered it in the chat. But if you look at the bull trend on this stock, just very quickly going into the close here, you're still seeing it hold some pretty good levels. You have a great one sitting at 330. You have this at 380. Multiple levels of possible support on the way back down. 445 and 465 in there today. If you like those, I mean, the first level at 45 to 65, it's about 10%. You have gap down risk with this stock, but I think it's set up for a decent break. Like, the 560 level on the daily is a pretty good breakout. As a day trader, like, I'm not even at the point yet where I'm like, I'm only looking for shorts on Vinco. I'm still willing to play it in both directions, which usually means that there's some upside potential. So longs in the morning and then shorting the tops has been pretty successful the last 2 or 3 sessions. I see no reason why that 560, if we hold about $5, that should be the game plan again tomorrow.
So look, we've got to get ready to ring this bell in only 30 seconds. So I think Miss V will probably run over there. Who's there? Oh, it's Prad. Prad's there. Okay. Prad can be ringing the bell today. That's nice. Okay. We are out of DraftKings with a nice little victory dance to finish the day off right now, out on the bid. We were waiting at 10s. We didn't get it. Only 30 seconds left. All of us need to be flat at the end of the day. So something to talk about there as we get ready to rock and roll. Oh, and I have to give a big shout out. Tony was just hired, and we were going to go get a coffee, but we couldn't find each other, and he got me a donut instead. So shout out to Tony over there. Thank you so much for the donut. We'll have that as a little snack. Yeah,
we only have 5 seconds. Get him, run, Tony. 2 and 1.
And 1. There's Tony. Use your head. There he is. Oh no. Good job there, Tony. What up, Tony? I have a new name for
Brad. Just throwing him under the bus, like
Tony the Tiger. Good job there, Tony. Tony, you can send that to all your girlfriends and everything like that. You're famous now. You rang the best part, though. It's not that funny, but what would have been awesome? He was kind of running in there. If he slid and his head hit the bell there, like, I hope that wouldn't have hurt him, but that would have been awesome. The first ever head bell ringing there for Tony. I don't know if Pratt.
It's got some give. I think he would.
I don't think Pratt set him up there. I believe Pratt was holding the mallet there. So maybe Tony makes an appearance again today. But
if you're gonna make a suggestion like that, give him 20 or 30 seconds, Pratt. Give him some
Yeah, but I don't
time,
think he knew that, because I talked about the donut, and then it was like, actually.
Why didn't you get him a fritter though?
No, he got me a donut. We were going
okay. No, yeah, okay.
So the funny thing is, the other day,
better though.
He questioned, I was walking to Tim Hortons. Brendan, just hold on. He was walking to Tim Hortons there. I was walking to Tim Hortons, and he said to me, I think it's the other way. And I said to him, bro, I've been here, like, we've been in this location for 5 years. I drink a lot of, believe me.
We don't know where the Tim Hortons is?
It is this way. And anyways, so then when I came back in, the dude had it, like, he Google mapped it as if I was wrong, and said, and he goes, oh yeah, you're right. So I was like, okay, Tony, all is well here. And then he wanted to buy. There he is right there shaking his head. What's up, Tony? Put that back. Yeah, thumbs up. He knows that's a true story. So a shout out to Tony there. Tony the Tiger is in the building. He's going to have a big, long career with us here at Day Trade the World. So now, Tony, I'll protect you forever. So don't worry, my friend. Just don't screw up on the business side of things. Over there to Brendan. How did we wind up?
That was highlight reel material, man. That has to go on a highlight reel with Arun's bell ringing as well, I think, right up there. Here we go. Yeah, it's red. I mean, everybody knows it's red. It's 1.8 for the S&P, 1.5, 2.5. For the NASDAQ, on and on, 1.2 here in Toronto. Yeah, big bounce there late in the day for crude oil. So we'll see some energy movement tomorrow again, I feel. And Ethereum, still red, but Bitcoin back to positive, guys.
The last thing standing is oil.
I saw Ms. V doing that like little kissy peace sign thing. I saw you there, Ms. V. Where's the 4-box? Thought we had a 4-box going. But now Tony. So Tony, honestly, like you are now a legend in the chat. So you can thank us later for that call. But Tony, the legend, will be in the building. Hopefully, he'll ring the bell tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, give him a second shot.
If he's not too busy. Tony was also very uncertain on his job title. I was asking him for weeks and weeks what he got hired on. See, Brendan knows it's true. We all know it's true. But shout out to Tony. We like that. Do that peace sign again, Ms. V. Where is it? Do the peace sign.
Tony.
Oh, a kiss peace sign. No, I just meant the peace sign.
Oh, peace.
The pieces, yeah, wow. We get a kiss out of it
was
anyways.
for Tony.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's for Tony, okay.
Tony needs to ring the bell.
Hello, Tony.
Every day this week at this point.
Yo, Prad, man, Tony's... Yeah, Tony, back up off Prad's girl, man. What's going on? Yo, Prad's no longer Mr. Steal Your Girl, man. It's Tony right now, Mr. Steal Your Girl. But okay, let's wrap this thing up. It's been a good day. We did DWAC as our #1 trade of the day, so we can watch that. We wound up taking $8 on it. You can see where DWAC winds up. I want to give a big thank you to Rob today and Lucas, as our software has been definitely acting up a little bit on the back end. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you to Trader Prad. Held that for 3 hours. Unbelievable today. It's a lot easier. There he is. What's up? Yep. It's a lot easier when Ms. V is in the building. So thank you to Ms. V as well. Thank you to obviously Neil and Brendan.
Don't forget, is Arun still here?
What am I thanking him for? He's gone. But thank you to, always thank you to Arun. Every day our futures guy was in the building today on a mishap, right? So I don't think he'll be in the building tomorrow, but he's always welcome. Thank you to everybody for watching. We're back tomorrow at 8. Did I say thank you to Ms. V? I think I did. So thank you to everybody, and we'll be back tomorrow. So see you then. Ciao.
See ya.